What's good, folks? Family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people of Middle Earth to another episode of Disguised Coverage, the only podcast that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin and is presented by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York, and that is One Pie Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you are listening to this show on. I'm your host, Anthony Prohaska. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro_ANT. In tonight's episode of Disguised Coverage, a special happy birthday, 4th of July Eve episode, America, of Disguised Coverage. We're going to dive into some game film on the Bills edge grouping. This is a position group I've talked about throughout this offseason, and I've talked a bit out of both sides of my mouth regarding it in terms of liking this Bills edge grouping, in terms of the depth that it offers, in terms of the rotation that it potentially can have, and in terms of the overall functionality. And at the same time, being a little worried about the top end production for this grouping in terms of guys that are going to be a constant threat. Who is that number one pass rusher? Do they have a true edge one from a pass rushing perspective? And what that leads to for the rest of the defense in terms of a domino effect and chain reaction, because this is a grouping that a couple seasons ago brought in Von Miller, and he every bit was that edge one that the Bills envisioned when they brought him in. He goes down with an injury, comes back last year, wasn't really the same guy that he was before, but Bills got lucky. I shouldn't say lucky. The Bills brought in Leonard Floyd in June last offseason, and he was that pass rushing edge one for the majority of the year. And for the first half of the season was a real terror off the edge, paired well with Greg Rousseau, functioned well within that rotation. This is, again, I've said this before, I think this isn't a conspiracy theory for me, but something I believe. I think he got banged up in multiple spots at some point throughout the year, because you just watch him as the year goes on, and it felt like every time he was going down to the ground, he was having to get helped up significantly. It looked like lower body stuff, maybe some rib or some core injury stuff. His numbers suffered a bit down the stretch, and I also think you saw that impact in terms of that slack not being picked up for him. Greg Rousseau had some flashes last year. He got banged up again, lower body foot stuff. Seems like he's picking up some knocks each year. But this is a grouping that is important to this Bills defense. It's important in the landscape of the NFL, with edge rusher being a premium position in today's NFL. And again, the Bills have a really interesting mix, like we talked about on this show. And Mike comes in with a comment saying Rousseau and Epenesa are high upside players, though. That's factored into the conversation 100%. I think, and this kind of functions into what I was going to, or funnels into what I was going to say next. I think Groot right now, if you look at him, I think he's an edge one. And when I say this, when I say edge one, edge two, edge three, edge four, I'm using that to kind of define roles and in terms of who these guys are on the depth chart. So an edge one is a top tier, like you're a legitimate starter against a specific aspect or overall. I think Groot is an edge one against the run. He's been that way since he came into the league. He uses his length well, his physicality well, hand placement. He's good at diagnosing mesh points between the running back and quarterback in the backfield. He's good at understanding blocking schemes. He's tremendous against the run. I think he's still more of an edge two from a pass rush standpoint. So ideally, you're pairing Groot with an edge one opposite of him. Again, a la what Von Miller was 2 years ago, a la what Leonard Floyd was last year in 2023. And so that makes this conversation interesting this year, because if Groot is a two at the edge, then who's that one? And I don't know if they necessarily have a one. I do think the upside for Groot is for him to be a one. And then in terms of Epenesa, I think he's very solidly in right now an edge three. And if the worst case scenario, he's a high end four, I do think he's an edge three. I do think his upside this year is getting himself into that edge two conversation, which would be absolutely tremendous, because the Bills could use that depth and rotation ability. And then actually I'll go through some of these comments here. Sweet Spice says, love the length of Groot and AJ at defensive end. Charles says, go Bills. Edge rush is my number one concern this season. I'm kind of right there with you. Jeff is super hyped with all caps saying, what's up, everyone? Go Bills. What's up, Jeff? Appreciate you stopping by. For those of you tuning in now, if you're watching live or watching later, if you have not already, please, and thank you. Yikes, drop a like on this video. It goes a sincerely long way towards helping myself and the entire team to track and trend in front of more eyes. And thank you to everyone for tuning in again here on this July 3rd edition of Disguised Coverage. I switched with Greg and Aaron, who are normally in this time slot. They went last night. I went tonight. Don't know how many eyes we're going to have on this with it being, 4th of July Eve. Again, shout out to America. Happy birthday for you. But appreciate you folks tuning in. Oh, I like this comment from Mike. Mike saying, how do you feel about Solomon? I'm going to get into Javon Solomon. He's one of the players we're going to break down in some tape tonight. So that is 100% going to happen. I'm going to be breaking down tape on several players throughout this episode. For those of you who are here just for the film and you're not watching live, I will timestamp, as I always do each segment throughout this episode. So if you want to jump around or watch a part later, watch another part, the day after or now, or whatever the hell, I will have everything timestamped. But I will get into Javon Solomon. I've been meaning to break down his tape in an episode for a while. It's my schedule and things at the offseason didn't line up, but we're going to get into that tonight in terms of talking about who he is, what he is, and showing some film in terms of breaking him down as well. So again, to kind of recap it, in terms of where we stand right now, Groot is the best edge on this team in terms of known quantity with what we know and who he is, what he is. I think he's a 1 against the run. I still think he's a 2 in terms of pass rush. I think he can get up to a 1 versus the pass and in a pass rush capability. But that's, I think, where that conversation starts to get a little worrisome because, when Charles said it here, that edge rush is his number one concern this offseason. I tie that in with Mike's comment here saying Rousseau and Epenesa are high upside players. I think a lot of the thought with this grouping is upside based. If Groot takes another jump and starts to, scratch that ceiling and get close to that upside, awesome. If Epenesa does the same thing, then this group looks a lot different. I think both of those are still questions, not guarantees in terms of known quantity. Then you've got Von Miller, who, Mr. Positive Affirmations, getting a full offseason to work out regularly as opposed to rehabbing from the injury last offseason. What does he look like coming into this year? Because down the stretch last year, for the majority of the year, he was very ineffective. But down the stretch, we saw some flashes of that old Von Miller. Now he gets an offseason to just be himself, no brace. He's just working out. He looks good. Granted, it's small videos that we're seeing, but in terms of bend and strength and stability in that knee, he looks good from the videos that we're seeing in terms of his offseason workout routine. What is he? And that's a significant part as well. I think he factors into the top 3 edges within this grouping. My expectation and hope for him is to be in that edge 3, edge 2 conversation. I do not think this year or really even next year, I don't think at best, I just don't know if we're going to get that pre-injury Von Miller with the Bills. If he could get back to that, that would be tremendous. I think that's a lot to expect given sustaining another ACL injury to the same knee he'd already sustained that injury to previously, the age that he's at, the mileage on the tires, and just overall how he plays. And not to take away from how smart he is, because Von Miller is a tremendously savvy, tremendously cerebral pass rusher. It's the reason he started the Pass Rush Summit. It's the reason people kind of flock to him to pick his brain in terms of how to rush the quarterback. This guy understands plan and counters and setups and doing things early to kind of test the cage a little bit and banking those things and then using them later in games to take advantage of offensive linemen. He understands all of that. He is a wealth of knowledge as a pass rusher, but so much of that cerebral aspect of his game has been tied into the physical athleticism that he's had, which has been, I don't want to say the rarest, but tremendously rare for an edge rusher. The juice, the athleticism, the bend, his ability to dip and turn, the core strength, his ability to flatten, everything that we've seen and the importance placed upon the athleticism and flexibility for him. It's a little worrisome to see kind of an injury to a lower body part. If he had a shoulder injury or a hand injury, it's a much different conversation versus one of your wheels getting banged up when you're a dude whose game is predicated on athleticism and juice and bend and all that kind of stuff. Now, comment here from Justin Tippecanoe says, by no means am I expecting it or responsible to even bet on it, but how sick would it be if Von got a dozen sacks? That would be tremendous. And honestly, I'm not even putting it in terms of sacks. I know we all want to see that, and I'm not trying to start the whole pressures versus sacks conversation again. I just want regular functionality from Von Miller. Just give me somebody who is functional and capable and it is impacting the game. If it's a dozen sacks, cool. If it's 3 pressures a game or 5 pressures a game, cool. If it's making plays against the run, cool. The Bills, and I think, again, that functions into funnels. Oh, I keep saying functions into that larger conversation with this grouping of, I don't think you're going to get top tier edge one production overall or in any one aspect aside from Greg Rousseau. Worst case scenario for Greg Rousseau is he's a 1 against the run and he's a 2 against the pass. It's not ideal because you'd like somebody who's an overall 1. And again, the Bills need that 1 versus the pass. But I think he's the only one capable of it. I don't think Vaughn is going to be a true 1 as a pass rusher this year. I don't think AJ Epenesa gets to that level as well. But if AJ and Vaughn can both be 2s, whether it's low tier, mid tier, or even if worst case scenario, they're both high end 3s, that's still functional enough. I equate it to lines in hockey, where if you don't have that top A line, that number 1 line, I'm okay with that. If you give me 3 B plus lines and 1 B minus line, I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily have to have an A minus, a B minus, and then a C. I'm okay with having multiple B plus lines. If you can give me 4 B plus lines, I'll take that. It's similar within this conversation. Like, I don't necessarily need to have, someone with a Madden rating at this position of a 90 or above. But if you can give me 3 or 4 dudes who are all between 85 and 88, or all you have 4 dudes who are at 86, that's cool from a balance perspective, a rotation perspective, a depth perspective. And I just want Vaughn to be an impact player in some regard off that edge. They just need a solid rotation where, again, I don't think you're going to have any one truly dominant guy off the edge. I don't think you're going to have a Von Miller from 2 years ago. I don't think you're going to have a Leonard Floyd from last year in terms of pass rush. Groot has a chance to get there. But I think a likely scenario or outcome is you just have a bunch of B plus dudes that are at that spot and you can rotate them in. And that's fine. Like, again, I don't think it's ideal. I'd love to have pre-injury Vaughn, or even what Floyd was in the first half of the year, or what some other teams have, like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and all that kind of stuff, and those dudes like that. But if you can just have solid play from 3 to 4 guys and you can just rotate them, that's fine. Because think of the drop-off you have if your edge 1 is an A and your edge 4 is a C, right? There's a bigger drop-off there versus if you've just got 4 edges and they all go from a B plus to a B. There's less drop-off there in that spot. Yeah. And that's an interesting conversation. That's part of what this conversation is for this episode tonight. It's part of the reason we're going to get into the film. Oh, I see a lot of comments coming through. Timothy saying, I hope AJ and Groot stay healthy and take a big step. I have zero faith in Miller after all the sauce he talked and his off the field issues. Yeah. His off the field issues are super disappointing. I don't even want to talk and comment on that. I hate that stuff. I wish dudes like that weren't on the team at all. And it seems like no matter what team you support, you're like professional athletes just kind of gravitate towards that, no matter the sport, which is really unfortunate. But in terms of on the field stuff, I mean, and like I mentioned, like he is one of the most positive affirmation guys we've ever seen for dudes who are about positive affirmations. And he works extremely hard. So I understand it. Like, dude puts in 1,000% effort all the time to get his body into the shape it needs to be for him to be effective. And maybe he truly believes that. Maybe he's, again, just trying to put it out into the universe for those positive affirmations. But to your point, yeah, I'm not. If Vaughn tells me like, oh, the weather's terrible outside today, like it's raining, I'm still probably opening up the window and peeking my head out and looking, just because I don't trust what he says. And Charles says Vaughn is 35 and Father Time is undefeated. That's understandable. Oh, I like this comment from Timothy. Timothy says, FYI, put that like button on a table, crushed a pound of Cajun dry rub wings with blue cheese, climbed to the top rope, and Macho Man Randy Savage elbow dropped it. That's one of the best comments we've ever seen on this show. Well done, Timothy. I appreciate the hell out of you for that. Mike coming through and saying, even if Vaughn has a magical season, he would have to restructure next offseason to stay. Yeah, I don't even want to get into the numbers and the contract stuff, but there's, contract things peeking into it as well. Charles saying Vaughn had like 18 pressures on over 200 pass rushes last year. Give me more Bernard and Milano. Where is the rest of that comment? To help with the pass rush. I'm actually going to look that up right now. What did he have? Because I've got different metrics and numbers, but overall, what did he have? Yeah, he had oh, wow, you were very spot on. He had 207 pass rush snaps last year from week 5 through the divisional round, and he had 17 pressures. So you're right on there. I didn't even go through his numbers because I did them on a previous show, and they're bad. They're all bad. And I didn't want to drag him over the coals again, but not great. Not great. Sweet Spice says, thanks for doing the show. I appreciate you for being here. Again, I recognize it's 3rd of July. Some people do stuff on the 3rd. I did some stuff earlier in the day. Didn't have anything tonight. Tomorrow, I'm completely incommunicado for the 4th. I don't know what people's plans are for the evening. So I'm very appreciative of everyone tuning in. for this episode. Again, especially considering myself and the Cover One Buffalo show with Greg Aaron switched spots at the last minute yesterday, and then combined with the holiday, all of that stuff. I appreciate you, Timothy. He says, I'm here for you, brother. Ooh, John Robert comes in and says, Vaughn will prove more by action, not words. I hope so. I hope so. And we're going to start with Von Miller with the film. And let me switch the banner. Nope, that's not what I want. There we go. That's the banner we want. So we are going to start with the film. And let's put this in here. Von Miller. Again, I just want to drive it home on Vaughn. I'm not super high on him. I'm also not super down. Like I think this for me also ties into my expectations I had for him last year. I didn't really think he was going to be that impactful last year. I thought he would be what we saw towards the end of the year. I thought we'd get more of that throughout his play during the season, but overall I didn't have a lot of high hopes or expectations for him just because of his age, coming off of the injury. Even if it was only the first time he'd had that injury to that knee, it still would have been a lot because you need that year recovery. Similar thing with Achilles injuries, like we're going to talk about with Dawuane Smoot later. Like that first year back, you're not really who you are. You're not really getting back to your pre-injury play. So I didn't expect a lot from him. So I think that's part of the reason why I'm not too down on him or too frustrated with his play. Again, I expected a little bit more, but relative to what his output was, it wasn't too dramatically or drastically off. I do think there are some positives to pick from his game last year towards the end, specifically in the playoffs against Pittsburgh and against Kansas City, like we're going to go into a little bit here. But overall, it's all relative to your expectations, right? If you think Vaughn's going to come back this year and get back to his pre-injury form, I think you're going to be disappointed and frustrated. If you think he's a bum and he's done and he's washed, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised because I think he's going to be functional and have some level of impact. Again, I think it falls somewhere in the range of being an edge 3 and an edge 2, which also, again, ties into the importance of AJ Epenesa because if Vaughn is a 3, we really need AJ Epenesa to be a 2. And if vice versa, if AJ Epenesa is a 3, we really need Von Miller to be a 2. Those guys, I think, are going to be tied to the hip in terms of their production this year and what they mean for the defense. Because, again, Groot is a 1 against the run, 2 against the pass. I think that's fun, and I think that's fine. I'd like him to be a complete 1 and a 1 overall. But my real question is, who provides that support to Groot? Do they have effectiveness and impact players playing off of him, or who can move ahead of him in terms of pass rush? I don't think you're going to get somebody who's going to move ahead of him in terms of pass rush. So my biggest hope is someone or multiple guys step up to add to his game and play their role as an auxiliary piece, as an edge 2 or an edge 3. And again, Vaughn and AJ are going to be so crucial to that. I really think in terms of depth chart or top 3 guys, quote unquote, in some order, Groot is definitely your 1, but then it's Vaughn and it's AJ, or it could be AJ and Vaughn. And maybe they're both edge 3s and there's a big gap between Groot and them. Or maybe they're both 2s and then you have a solid 3-man rotation, or maybe one of them's a 2 and one of them's a 3, and then it's okay, like not ideal, but still functional and still effective. That's what I think is so interesting with that conversation. So again, to kind of put that into perspective, but let's go into the film. This one is against Kansas City. And like John says here, I was encouraged because Vaughn wasn't wearing a brace. Yeah, it was nice to see him kind of ditch the brace a bit. It's nice to see him not using that brace this offseason in terms of his workouts. Those braces can be restrictive. They change the way you move, change the way you feel. But also I think there's the mental side of it too. Like, you know, when you're wearing that brace, you know, when you have that injury and the brace is on, do you 100% trust the health of your knee? How effective do you feel? What do you like? How does your mental state translate to your play physically on the field? I think that was part of some of Vaughn's game, or lack thereof, last year. But let us get into the film. So here's Von Miller, highlighted right here off the right edge. I'm going to show some clips again from the playoff run. I don't want to dwell on the ineffective reps for the majority of the year. And part of the reason I really wanted to hone in on the end of the season for Vaughn and these playoff reps for him is because, again, we started to see those little flashes. They were small, right? They were incremental improvements week over week. And these flashes weren't world beater moves, but it was just a little bit kind of showing us like maybe some semblance of that guy is still in there a little bit. And with it coming at the end of the year, I think it's fair to make some sort of assumption or kind of plant a flag on the idea of if this is who he was towards the end of the year, maybe he can build upon that and we can see more of this from the beginning of the year in 2024 and beyond. But without further ado, let's get into this. So this is playoffs, obviously against the Kansas City Chiefs, a stupid, stupid, stupid football game. And there's Von Miller off the right edge there. Oh, Huddle wants to load on me. Oh, you're making me look so foolish, Huddle. So disappointed in Huddle right now. This has happened to me the last couple times we've done these streams. I swear, Huddle just wants to make me look like an absolute fool. Or maybe it's because I had it queued up for so long, I was kind of just waiting. All right, cool. There we go. Talk through it. Well done to myself. All right, here we go. Let's run this play. Now, again, just kind of looking at the health of the knee, but overall just the moves and understanding. You see Jawon Taylor, 74 here. Watch him take this set, this aggressive set. You can already see kind of his positioning out there, like his body position, how he's leaning on that front leg, and he is ready to explode out of his snap. He is beelining it out here to cut off that edge for Von. And watch Von read it. See? Nice. Spin move. Also watch this arm. He is going to chop down. There's so much more to a spin move, I think, than just the spin. A lot of it is the hand technique that I think goes unnoticed for dudes. Watch. Boom. He gets Jawon to open up. You see that arm extend? Now watch Von chop down right on that arm. Chops down. Gets him leaning. Turns. Beautiful. Beautiful rep. He's got Taylor leaning. He's inside. I originally tweeted this as kind of wanting somewhat of a penalty for it. Watch Jawon Taylor's leg. I'm mentioning here just in case somebody sees it and brings it up. I don't want to hone in on it too much. I just want to focus on Von. But watch Taylor's leg. Sticks it out just a little bit. You see that? I wanted a tripping penalty, especially because Dorian Williams gets called for pass interference on this play on Rashee Rice. Here's Dorian right here. And there's Dorian again right here on Rashee Rice. You can see Dorian popping him a little bit, and it happens right as the throw comes as a pass interference call. This was a stop on third down, and it gives Kansas City a new set of downs. I was mad because, especially when you watch it in real time here, watch Jawon and Mr. Von Miller. You can see him stick that leg out. Beats him, boom, just a little. It's subtle, and it's quick, but the reason Von trips, and the reason, granted, Trey Smith comes over to help out from the right guard spot, which is nice, but little kick right there. It's actually kind of knee on knee. Like he goes for full extension, but doesn't get it. Little kick right there. But regardless of that, regardless if it should have been a penalty, regardless if it wasn't, this is a nice move. This is a good spin. Bang. Good arm movement. Good chop. Good precision. Good flexibility. Good juice. There's some burst there. That's a very effective move. That's a technically sound and athletic move from a dude coming back from an ACL injury. That's extremely encouraging, extremely positive, but also not just from a silver lining perspective, that's an effective move. That's good. It heats up Mahomes a little bit. It forces the right guard to help out. That's a win. That's a good rush for Von Miller. Encouraging. Okay, now we're going to stay in that game, and we're going to go to play 27 here. So this game against the Chiefs, again, another highlight from this stupid game where the Bills were playing very, very injured. This one is a play against the run. I wanted to show this because, again, the athleticism, the impact. If Von could just make an impact in some way, ideally it's as a pass rusher because I think they have enough from a run defense standpoint between Groot, Epenesa, and then whoever wins the rest of those jobs, whether it's Tuhill, whether it's Smoot, whether it's Kingsley Jonathan, maybe it's Javon Solomon. I think they have enough. It also depends on how many edges they keep, right? And dress each week. Are they dressing 4? Are they dressing 5? Regardless of the combo, I think they'll have enough from a run defense standpoint. But even if Von can be effective as a run defender, there's still value in that. And I think this is also an aspect of his game that's been underrated throughout his career, and understandably because of the impact he's been as a pass rusher, and I think the sexiness that's attached to winning as a pass rusher playing the edge versus just winning versus the run. But this is a nice one. You're going to get, go back to the start here. You're going to get a little counter action here for the Chiefs. and you're going to get a pull from Travis Kelce, and you're going to get a pull from Creed Humphrey. So basically, a counter run here, like a counter, basically like a CH or CY, however you want to label it, where you're going to get the center pulling and the tight end pulling as well. And this is Creed Humphrey right here, one of the best centers in all of football, which I know is a very common sentiment and pain point for Bills fans, as he could have been drafted by the Bills instead of Mr. Boogie Basham, but I digress. And watch Von Miller. We get the snap, comes off the ball, immediately recognizes, you can see his footing start to change a little bit. He doesn't just come screaming off the edge and getting upfield. He sees the action in the backfield. He sees the flash of color from Creed Humphrey. Just watch him play this. Go a little faster. Boom. Okay, we'll pause. Comes off the field, and you can see him already pacing himself, right, as he's reading what's going on. Eyes are in the backfield, but he's also, from his peripherals, seeing Creed Humphrey coming down here. And Creed Humphrey on this run, because he's the first guy through, his job is to pull, and his job is to kick out Von Miller here. So as Von comes off the edge, Creed is supposed to get him and seal him right here. So that way the running back can get this ball and get through the alley there. And then when you take the tight end into account as well, so again, let's say this run works out. Creed Humphrey comes here, seals Von Miller. Kelce comes through, leads through the hole, and then Pacheco follows Kelce and goes to the hole as well. So they're trying to seal. I've made a real beautiful Picasso-style painting here with all of my illustration. But you're trying to seal that edge. So watch Von against Creed Humphrey here. Just sees him coming. Look at the nice little athletic Olay, but also watch his feet. Watch the base. He sheds him, bang, plants. Humphrey even tries to hook him. Like you see that hook right there in the waist of Von Miller. Humphrey's trying to hook him, pull him a little bit, do anything he can to try and stall Von Miller a little bit here. Von pushes through. Then we get a nice lunge and a nice play on Isaiah Pacheco, right? That is a nice, solid play from Von Miller. Boom, sheds him and makes the tackle. I also want to show it from the sideline angle here. Here's Von. Okay. Oh, horrible circle. Here's Von. I just also want you to get an appreciation for how he comes right down the line and has that ability to make the play down the line of scrimmage, right? Like I said, he doesn't get too far upfield. Sheds Humphrey, avoids him. And look at the jump there. A nice athletic. Whoop, plants again. Look at the brace on both legs. Not brace, literal brace. I mean like bracing, kind of anchoring down, being able to stabilize himself. And then a lunge forward. Stays flat, makes the play, makes a good tackle, hangs onto that leg. Again, another positive play with some athleticism, some flexibility, some juice, a little bit of bend. Boom, boom. Another positive part. Again, not the best thing in the world. Actually, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good rep. You have a really good pulling center coming at you, and you diagnose all of this, shed him, get around him, and make a play. This is a really good play. Not only is it encouraging from a health standpoint in terms of like, oh, maybe we can see more of this in 2024. This is just a good play. Like whether you're coming off injury, whether you're not, this is a really good play from Von Miller. Boom, boom. And again, the ability to, you see from the sideline angle, like diagnose this, the quickness to shed, but then also play through that reach attempt and that hook attempt from Humphrey and then plant and bang, pop back out. Really nice. Show it one more time from the end zone angle. Good play from Von. That's how you beat a counter, right? You get that dude who is that edge player that they are trying to seal, they are trying to log, have that impact on, and he's able to read it, diagnose it, and beat it. Like Von Miller shuts this down by himself. Also a pretty good job from Daquan Jones walking Trey Smith into the backfield just to try and gum it up a little bit. That's a great play from Von. Ed Oliver's working over the top, trying to not let this thing get loose. But that's a really great job from Von Miller. What do we got? Some comments here. Timothy says, my highest realistic hope for Miller is that he coaches up some of the young guns, healthy scratch unless there's an injury, positive mentor, and injury depth. Oh, that's fair. I think that's fair to have that as a realistic hope. I think he's going to be more than that. Again, I don't think he's going to set the world on fire. I do think he'll be in the top 4. I think he'll factor into the top 3. But I think that's, as far as realistic hopes, I understand your sentiment there, and I don't think it's crazy to think that at all. Nikki says, is it true as long as you don't grab with your hands, it's not a hold? Because the Chiefs literally were hugging us all game. It depends. There's like, if you get into the specifics of the rule, it depends on where you're grabbing, especially from like a rush perspective. I know like the big one was a couple years ago. I think we started with Bengals Chiefs in the playoffs where Trey Hendrickson was trying to like rip through Chiefs tackles and they were like holding him up here and like leaning him back and it wasn't called as a hold. That stuff isn't a hold, but no, if you and there's specific verbiage with it, but if you impede the rusher by grabbing them or hooking them or literally like holding them back, it in theory, it should be called a hold. It's usually just got to be pretty egregious. Like it's got to be where you're grabbing jersey and someone beats you and your arms get extended. Similar to kind of like, actually, there's a lot of parallels between trench play and DBs and wide receivers, but some of offensive line play and defensive line play going against each other, again, trench play, it mirrors what you see with DBs and wide receivers, where that's pushed off, that's pass interference, but they're not going to call it because neither guy like fully extended or pushed off. You see push-offs happen all the time from receivers, but refs aren't going to call it unless you get that full extension. So again, there's the human element to calling the penalty, but it's if you're impeding the player, whether you're grabbing jersey, whether you're hooking and holding, no pun intended there, and like grabbing them, also for the length at which you do it, right? If you do it for a brief second and let go, they're probably not going to call it, but if you're really hanging on, obviously you're more likely to get called. Nikki says, like Sean Hockley knows what a hold is anyway or call anything in our favor, but still. Western New York Ricky says, Matt Milano was at Boston College at the same time as Justin Simmons. I'm okay with the Bills' safety play. I don't love it. I would love if the Bills brought in Quandre Diggs or Justin Simmons. So if that's in relation to that, that's fine. Charles saying, Casey does some crazy stuff with motion and misdirection. Absolutely. Andy Reid, schemer, designer, all of that kind of stuff. Mike says, all your power and drive comes from your legs. This is why MMA fighters are always throwing kicks to people's legs. I like that. Work on the base, wear it down. That's fair. Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially too with offensive line play. It's always like you control with your hands, you push and you move and you drive with your legs. Very similar. Troy says 2 or 3 great plays in the playoffs is my hope for Von. I like this from Timothy saying, I hope Miller breaks the single season sack record. Laugh out loud, but I've been a Bills fan for a while, so I'm used to bracing myself for the worst. I'm right there with you. I'm not necessarily like a glass is half empty dude, but I embrace the realism or almost pessimism of my thoughts. Timothy says he likes that hope for Troy. Jason says, I think the bar is low for Von this year, and I go with the Bruce Nolan words of wisdom regarding expectations. Because the expectation is low, a decent level from Von will be considered success. Jason follows that up and says, and I think that is a good thing. Expectations were so high before it almost would be impossible to be satisfied. I think that is tremendously well said, and I don't know if you were here earlier, but I said something similar, right? I think if your expectations are for him to get back to true Von Miller form this year, you're going to be disappointed. I think if your expectations are that he's washed and won't dress, you're going to be pleasantly surprised because I think he's going to factor into the top 3 and have some impact for this team. Well said there, Jason. Let's go to another play from this game. Where is play 22? There it is. Play 22. There it is. This one's nice. I think this was underrated. It happened at the end of the first half. Watch the recognition. And so the awareness is what starts it, right? But watch the recognition. He sees the blocking scheme happen here, but watch the play in space. So Von takes off. This is towards the end of the half. Not a lot of time left on the clock, so Von's not going to sell out. But he sees how things are happening here. Also sees Pacheco, and he slow plays this because he's like, this doesn't seem right. I'm not going to barrel full steam ahead. Reads it, steps up, and then again sees Pacheco release, sees Mahomes' eyes, feels Humphrey and the movement all here. So he puts the brakes on, follows Pacheco, watch the play in space, runs him down. That's a tough tackle in space, especially against a dude who doesn't really get brought down a lot one-on-one in Isaiah Pacheco. Here's from the end zone angle. Again, not this world beater type of play, but just good recognition. The cerebral part of Von Miller showing up here, but then again, being able to tie it to the physical. Being able to put the brakes on, plant, back up, turn. You see a little bit of a stumble right here. Oh, stumbles a little bit as he gets out of that break, as he turns and opens, but then he gets flat, gets down the line, and makes a really nice tackle in space. Again, encouraging play. He's super pumped. I like the emotion that he shows in this one for making this play. Like, he's pumped. Klein is pumped for him. That's a big play for him in terms of building that confidence, making things happen. And again, this is a good play for anyone, but especially for a dude coming off of that injury, trying to build confidence and making plays. This is an impactful, effective play. I think a loss of, a loss of 1? on this play. Let's see. Actually, no, bigger loss than that. Lost 4, 5, something like that. Really nice play from Von Miller. Again, in space, chasing him down. It would have been interesting to see if Pacheco tried to shake him and tried to get him to plant in space a little bit instead of allowing Von to just kind of straight line, beeline it, and take the angle. But that's nice. Good play in space from Mr. Von Miller there. Let's look at some more. Now we're going to go to the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, also in the playoffs. Let's break things down here. Let's switch. I have everything noted by play number. This is when we first started to see those flashes of the old Von starting to peek through a little bit. Playoff game against Pittsburgh. I'm going to show this first one here. Let's watch Von come off the edge a little bit. Nice. Flattens again. These are two that were everybody. I think a lot of people were still on like the I hate Von. I'm really disappointed in him. So I'm mad at the world with everything he does train. These were very encouraging. Neither of these are stat busters. The play I'm going to show now, and then I think the more well-known play right after it. He gets pressures for both of these, but it's not a sack. It's not a tackle for a loss. There's no raw box score stat for it. But wanted to show from the angle here, from the sideline angle here. Watch Von, and we're going to talk about the handwork and the specific way he wins in a minute. But watch as he flattens. Doesn't get too far upfield. Watch his ability to flatten and get down the line and retrace and match the quarterback, Mason Rudolph, stepping up in the pocket. Look, he gets flat and is able to lean forward, affects him, gets on his hip a little bit, helps force that incomplete pass. So this is a pressure. It's not a sack, but it leads to an incompletion. This is a valuable play on 2nd and 10, leads to a 3rd and 10. This is a really good play from Von. Have him highlighted here from the end zone cam. Takes an upfield angle. And so different than the first play we showed against the Chiefs, right, where Taylor was kind of booking it off the line to cut off that outside. This time we don't see that same. So you get that initial, watch the initial lunge, that step, and then chops down a little bit, kind of settles. So Von reads that, sees that, and is like, I'm turning the corner. I'm turning the edge. Wins first touch. Real nice. We talk about it all the time. First touch is literally the first guy who touches the other guy. But not only is it first touch, he's getting that long arm in. He's got good body lean to the point where he's generating leverage and he's pushing through his man, but he's not too far out in front of his feet where if he gets chopped down, he can fall off kilter or fall off balance and his leverage can be snapped. So this is good hand placement. This is good pop as well. Watch the hand placement and then watch the shut. Boom. Look how he knocks his man back. Again, doesn't barrel him over. Bang. Watch that pop back. Bang. You see the head snap back. You see the upper body move. That's nice. But then, how do you chain it together? How do you transition it into another move? You get the stab from Von. Now, watch his outside hand. That left hand comes through, chops down on the outside arm of the tackle, and then pulls himself through. And watch how he leans into it. You see some of that dip. You see some of that bend. He does that so he can flatten and stay flat and get to the quarterback instead of getting too far upfield and allowing the quarterback to step up, avoid the rush, and help his offensive lineman establish some of that leverage. Real nice play. Boom. Gets up. Rudolph feels it. Also helps Rudolph step up into Ed Oliver. Another quality play from Von Miller. This time in a different way. Beats his man. Nice. The transition, I think, and the chaining of the moves together, is really nice. Like, stab, punch, chop down, pull yourself through. Good hand usement. I guess that could work. Placement and usage combined together. Good hand usement. Good hand placement. Good hand usage. Bang. And beat your man right around the corner. Step. Bang. Punch, chop, pull yourself through. Flatten, quarterback. Good rush from Mr. Von Miller. And let's take a look at another one from this game. This was the one that actually a lot of people were kind of raking him over the coals for because it looks kind of boneheaded, but I think when you watch it, and I break it down here, I think it's a little more understood. Again, Von coming off that right side. Now, this is what's nice about this one too. This is after the play we just saw. So this tackle knows I just got beat outside. I got beat around the corner. He turned, he flattened around the arc. This is literally 3 plays later. So he's seeing this saying, uh-oh, actually, is it exactly 3 plays later? Yes, it is. So this is literally 3 plays later. This offensive lineman knows he just got beat around the corner. Vaughn also knows that that offensive lineman knows that he just beat him around the corner. So what does he do here? Sets him up, doesn't get upfield, attacks his outside shoulder. And then we see that, look at that. Spin move again. And similar to what we saw on the KC tape, watch this inside arm for Vaughn and this outside arm for the offensive tackle. What do we see again? That chop, bang, right there. Chops down that outside arm, spins off him, and gets into the backfield. Now, when you watch this play in real time, you see Vaughn get to the quarterback, and he just kind of pushes him, and everybody was like, what the hell? Why didn't he finish the sack? This was stupid. What a horrible play by Vaughn. I actually think it's a pretty smart play because if you watch, right as he's bearing down on Rudolph, watch Rudolph right here. Pumps. Vaughn thinks this ball is out. So all he does is hit, or he thinks the ball is coming out. So all he does is give him a little shot because he doesn't want to get flagged for roughing the passer. But then he realizes the ball is still there, and he's like, uh-oh. So again, in an ideal world, he sees that the ball is still in his hand, and he gets the sack, yada, yada. But focus on the process of it. The spin move, the hand usage again, the precision, the technique to chop down that outside arm, spin back inside, and get inside. And bears down right on the quarterback. What's also nice, too, is the tackle kind of resets a little bit here. And he gets his hands on Vaughn. That's actually good placement there, right in the center of the chest. But it doesn't matter at this point. Vaughn is bearing down, and he works right through to the quarterback. Again, another straight line angle from Mr. Von Miller. That's a good rush. Again, things to build upon. Showed the most recent ones against Kansas City. Now showed the 2 right before that against Pittsburgh. Positive things to build upon if you are Von Miller. Let's see, comments here from Nikki. Nikki says, I know a lot of the D-line thought Washington was a good coach. I never saw any real development or any twists and stunts to even help our D-line. Yeah, he seemed to be actually a pretty big fan favorite amongst a lot of the players. I thought, and so, some of it is so hard, right? Like, how much do you put on the players for who they are, and how much do you put on the coaching staff and the environment and all that kind of stuff? I think, Von Miller, I think Greg Rousseau's trajectory has been nice. Again, becoming one of the best edge players against the run in the league. I think Epenesa, although expectations I think were higher for him because he was a second-round pick, I think considering him coming in a COVID year and having to rechange his entire body composition along with his play style on the fly in the NFL based on what was asked of him, I think considering all that, he's had some improvement and some incremental jumps each year. But overall, yeah, I can see the frustration with it, especially with how much they've had to go to the well for free agents. But I think you look at I keep saying Vaughn. Well, it makes sense. We just spoke about him. But I think you look at Ed Oliver, Groot, Epenesa. Some of those are nice. But I think overall, yeah, there was a common sentiment, especially amongst the fan base in terms of Eric Washington not getting enough out of this defensive line and really putting everybody into it. But I think like everybody, you have some hits, you have some misses. There's very few coaches who just know how to coach up everybody. You don't have a lot of Rich Sarix from the 49ers who just seems like they just grab defensive linemen off the scrap heap and then turn them into Velociraptors in like an offseason. I don't know how he continues to do it. I think there's very few position coaches that have such a track record of success like some of those dudes. So like Washington, I think like most dudes, I think you have some hits, you have some misses, but on the whole, maybe some more misses than hits and some ineffectiveness at times. Oh, Mike says, I hope McD is more involved on our defense. I think that's a really good point to make as well with Bobby Babich being defensive coordinator. Who kind of runs the defense? Who's calling it in game? How much input is there? I liked Sean McDermott's defense last year, especially considering all the injuries and how banged up they were and how they played. I would like to see him get a full season with a full complement of defenders that he expected to have in the year. So we'll see. Again, it's what's so frustrating, too, to see how the defense played in that game, knowing that, like, Klein was in there and Medikevich was seeing snaps. And, again, I thought Leonard Floyd was banged up. And Daquan Jones was in there, but we don't know how 100% he was. Christian Benford didn't play because he was hurt. Rasul Douglas was in there on one leg. We had no Matt Milano. Like, there were just so many variables in that game against the Chiefs. I wouldn't mind another year of Sean McDermott. I also think it's cool to be excited for what Bobby Babich could bring as DC. I'm very excited to see what happens. Like, I want to see the first game of the year and I want to see the defense being called, and I want to see who's on the mic saying stuff. Like, is it Sean McDermott? Is it Babbage? Like, who's calling this defense? I think they're going to keep, in typical Bills fashion, I think they're going to keep those cards pretty close to the chest or vest until it happens. So I am very interested because I like what McDermott did, but I'm also excited for Babbage. I think it's kind of a win-win, I hope. Nikki following up and saying, just so many high picks and guys coming in just didn't work out. So I'm happy to see how this D-line grows this year, especially having a legit one tech to back up Daquan. Yeah, it's nice. I like Austin Johnson. I think Williams offers some potential as well, but I like that interior rotation of Ed, Daquan, Austin Johnson, and then Dwayne Carter at the backup 3 techs. So hopefully things work out there. I also like Elianku. I've liked him since some preseason reps. I thought he was an underrated performer in the game against Baltimore 2 seasons ago. So I like some of their one tech options behind Daquan. I like Elianku. Again, like I mentioned, I like Austin Johnson. I don't mind Williams. I'm a little more concerned about the 3 tech spot. Aside from Ed and Carter, I think they're a little thinner there. Plus, Carter's a rookie. We don't really know what to expect. Like, even if your hopes are high, he's still an unknown quantity. But I do feel you on Washington, kind of just the overall sentiment, especially seeing like how Boogie Basham didn't work out. Epenesa didn't necessarily hit the ceiling that you would have hoped he would hit as a second round pick. But again, for me, there's so many variables with him being drafted during COVID and having to change his body composition, which I hate that. There's so many variables that kind of muddy the conversation, which happens in prospect development all the time, right? It's not, very rarely is it just this guy failed because he sucks or this guy failed because the organization sucks. There's so many factors that go into kind of determining who a person is. Eric comes in and says, I expect pressure to come from all 3 levels. Bernard and Cole can get after the QB. I do expect a lot of what we saw last year early on when the Bills were healthy. They were getting creative with 5 and 6-man pressures. We're using simulated pressures, creeper pressures. For those who don't know, simulated pressures, you're showing blitz pre-snap, and then on the snap, you drop one or more non-traditional rushers, or you drop one or more traditional rushers into coverage and send one or more non-traditional rushers in their place. Easiest way to think about it, you got your 4 down defensive linemen, and you've got Bernard and Milano in the A gap. So you're showing a 6-man pressure on the line. On the snap, Greg Rousseau drops out into coverage, and Milano rushes. So now you've got 3 defensive linemen rushing and Matt Milano. 3 traditional rushers, 1 non-traditional rusher being a linebacker. The flip side of that, or not the flip side, but kind of the sister or brother of that, is a creeper pressure where you do the exact same thing, but you don't show the pressure pre-snap. So your 4 down defensive linemen, Bernard and Milano, are hanging out in the second level like normal. And then on the snap, Rousseau drops, Milano blitzes, something like that. I do think you'll see that this year. I think that's kind of the way of the world when it comes to defensive football, trying to change the pre to post snap picture on the quarterback. So much of that is talked about from a coverage standpoint with disguising coverages and, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, showing too high and shifting to single, showing single, shifting to 2, Tampa 2 invert / Tampa 2 robber, getting creative with who's your dropper, who's the whole player, who's running the pull, all this kind of stuff from a coverage standpoint. I think a lot of that is starting to get into the pressure world as well with simulateds and creepers, all with the idea of trying to make the quarterback hold on to the ball for an extra quarter or half of a second, changing the pre to post snap picture on him. And there's a lot with simulators and creepers where you can also kind of manipulate protection and manipulate offenses. The Bills did it a lot in the game against the Raiders. I broke down a bunch of it on Twitter and some on the show, making the Raiders last year think, 6 or 7 dudes are coming. Let me keep in a tight end and a running back to block. And then the Bills are only rushing 4 and it's simulated. And now you still are dropping 7 into coverage, but there's less guys out in the route distribution because they thought more pressure was coming. You can manipulate that. You can keep the running back in a little bit. You can try and create one-on-ones with offensive linemen. So I think that type of blitz style, in addition to 5 and 6-man pressures, especially if you have the ability to play man coverage behind it, some of the body types they have, I do expect to see kind of a similar pressure package to your point that we saw last year. Whether it's McDermott, whether it's Babbage, I do think you will see some of that similar pressure package. Let us go now back to the film. And now, as I start to pull up and talk to you folks while I pull this up, we're going to look at some pieces for AJ Epenesa. I don't know why I sang that. Sometimes it's fun to sing things. Let's go to AJ Epenesa. I'm going to play this on my own right now, off screen, that you can't see, to make sure Huddle doesn't make me look like a fool again. Oh, sweet. It didn't. Okay, cool. All right, let's show this. There we go. All right, cool. Oh, you can't see. Now you can. All right, so here's AJ Epinesa. This Philly game, he had a couple really great moments this year. I think his best games were, from a pass rush standpoint, especially, were against Philly here. He had some tremendous moments against Jacksonville as well. I wanted to show these plays against Philly because of the caliber of opponent they came against. Then I wanted to mix some of that in with some run defense stuff as well. So the main reason I wanted to lock into the Philly tape was because of this man that he's going against right here. This is left tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, Mr. Jordan Mailata, one of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL, not just one of the best tackles or one of the best left tackles, genuinely one of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL, coached by arguably the best offensive line coach in the NFL, Mr. Jeff Stoutland for the Philadelphia Eagles. Mailata is a stud. I think if you're talking like best left tackles, you've got Laramie Tunsil, you've got Tristan Wirfs, which is nuts considering Wirfs moved to left tackle last year after being a right tackle in Tampa Bay. You've got Mailata. There's certain dudes that are in that Rolodex in terms of who the best left tackle is or who the second or third or top 5, top 3, whatever. Mailata is in that conversation. So seeing AJ Epinesa have some real quality and dominant wins against one of the best offensive linemen in football is extremely encouraging, and that's why I wanted to show these ones. But again, so those ones against, there's a couple against Jacksonville that are really tremendous as well. I just rate Mailata so much higher than who he beat against Jacksonville. So, oh, now you're going to load on me? Oh, man. Huddle is just my enemy today. I loaded it off screen and played it, and now that it's on screen, playing games. All right, so here's Epenesa. 4 down. When I say 4 down, I mean him. Well, there's also 4 down on the defensive line, but he's in a 4-point stance. Takes off, and watch. You get first touch. Again, similar to what we talked about with Von Miller, right? Mailata's hands are still kind of loading. Epenesa's already into his chest. He's establishing that half-man relationship. He's got the hand into the center of the chest of Jordan Mailata, and he's starting to work this outside. So he wins that first touch, gets that hand right into the chest of Mailata to establish some leverage and establish some knockback a little bit. Watch the outside hand. This is something he's become really adept at, his hand usage overall, but especially this move where he kind of lifts that outside arm and forklifts it or just chops it down or pushes it off. The variety of moves that he does with his hands, it's something he's made a lot of progress in. Again, that hand usage and hand placement, I think are really his calling card. I don't think he's the fastest, although his get off is absolutely tremendous. He's got legitimately one of the best get offs of all defensive linemen, not on the Bills, just in the NFL. I forget that. I just remember that right now. But I remember the tweet, like they clocked it, I think 2 seasons ago. Like he had a top 3 fastest get off in the NFL, which is nuts. So he's really quick off the line. He's got a good get off. He's got good juice and burst, but I don't think he's the fastest. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. He doesn't have the best move repertoire or plan, but I do think he has enough moves. And I do think his hand usage is top tier. But this one's nice. Again, just because of the physicality, and watch him just walk Mailata back and influence this throw. Hurts can't step into it. This is a 2nd down and 14, so Philly's trying to get some yards on this one. And Epenesa just walks Mailata back, and watch Hurts. He can't really step into it. He also can't really follow through into it because Mailata is right in his lap, and that is courtesy of AJ Epinesa. And then watch the throw. This throw is short. A little bit of a difficult catch for, who is that? Mr. AJ Brown. Ball falls short. What's nice about this one, too, is Mailata makes contact. This happens. Sometimes you get knocked back if you're an offensive lineman, right? But you try to reset. You do that hop that we've talked about. Myself and Eric have talked about it. We showed it on Twitter. We showed it in film episodes. You try to do that hop if you're an offensive lineman, right? Where you're losing ground, so you hop and you try to re-anchor and reestablish yourself. Watch him go for it here. Tries the hop. Boom. Plants. Re-anchors. Sets. You're thinking, okay, cool. And again, with the caliber of Mailata, it would not be unexpected if he just stalemates him right here and Mailata doesn't, oh, that's horribly unstraight, doesn't move any farther back from, I should say, from this spot. But nope, look at him go through him again. And then Mailata tries to re-anchor and reset again. And Epenesa, look at, again, the hand placement. Now it's shifted to more to the collarbone, more to the upper part of that shoulder pad. And look at him just wrenching him back. Look at the long arm, the physicality, the push. He's wrenching back and has established leverage and won leverage, again, against one of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL. This is a very, 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 very good rep. And again, all you're going to see it is on advanced metric sites like PFF, who are going to track the pressure. It's not a sack. It's not a tip ball. He causes this incompletion. He puts Mailata into the lap of Jalen Hurts, which causes Hurts not to be able to fully step into this throw and not fully follow through with his throw, which causes that ball to come up short. A.J. Brown has to dive for it, and it's not in great placement. He's got his hands outturned. It's not great for the receiver. This is because of A.J. Epenesa. Boom. That's a really great rep. I'm going to play it in real time a couple more times. Boom, boom, wrenches him back. That's real nice. Physical, good placement, sticks with it. Also, notice the hand fighting too. Watch this outside hand for AJ Epenesa, the cool one that doesn't have a sleeve. Also, really good aesthetic. He's got the full arm sleeve on the left arm, and then he's just rocking that tattoo on the right. Just a good look, just a good aesthetic. Watch the hand fighting starting here. So again, he's won that first touch with the left arm. It's in the chest of Mailata. He keeps it there for that leverage, that push, that drive. He keeps it there. But watch this outside tattooed arm of AJ Epenesa. Gets the hand on there, right on the inside of that forearm, or the upper part of the forearm and the lower part of that elbow, right in that kind of joint there. Pushes on it. Now again, what's happened? Mailata only has one arm on AJ Epenesa, and he does not have leverage. He's getting pushed back. Epenesa is into him. You see some of the body lean. Again, similar to that Von Miller piece we talked about a couple minutes ago. You've got that lean. You've got that long arm. You are driving. So what's Mailata going to do? Again, he's going to try and do that hop step so he can anchor, set himself, but he's also going to try and get some kind of touch here so he can slow down Epenesa. So here comes the outside arm of Mailata. Epenesa sees it. Forces it off, grabs it, pushes it off him. Again, boom, knocks it down. Here comes the hand. Look he literally grabs. Boom. Grabs that hand, that wrist of Mailata. No, not happening. Forces it off him again. Now, where's Mailata again? Only has one arm. Epenesa still has that long arm intact. So Mailata, you see him kind of do that circle punch, tries to refit his hands, get it into Epenesa, reestablish some leverage, and he gets it. Gets it right into the chest so he can stop him a little bit. So all things considered, good battle, pretty decent recovery from Mailata. So Epenesa says, you know what? Fine, I can't get that hand off. Let me lean in more with that long arm and just wrench you back. Good hand usage, good hand placement, good understanding and real-time movement. And again, I'm slowing that down. This all happens in the blink of an eye. Bang, hand, wrench. Really nice, and walks him right back. This is a tremendous, tremendous rep for AJ Epenesa. Also, some stats, in case you folks didn't know, amongst 118 qualifying edges in 2023, AJ Epenesa was tied for 27th in terms of pass rush productivity. Again, pass rush productivity, I talk about it all the time. PRP, a formula that combines sacks, hits, and hurries relative to how many times a player rushes the passer. So he was 27th out of 118 qualifying edges. He was also tied for first in batted passes, which was a legitimate aspect of his game, as was his ability to drop into coverage last year. He was consistently displaying good athleticism last year for this Buffalo Bills squad. Last time for this one, great play. Walks him right back. Kind of show it from the other angle too, just so you can see that hand placement of that left arm of Epenesa right into the chest, right in that chest plate on the number. Look at the drive, the leverage, the lean, bang, bang, fights that handoff again. Man, that's a really good rush. Really, really, really good rush from AJ Epenesa. Oh, that's a cool freeze frame. Let's go to the next play for AJ Epenesa. Again, AJ Epenesa circled on the screen, up against Jordan Mailata. Different kind of rush this time for Epenesa. Boom, just beats the hands, clears them, gets around the edge. All in the blink of an eye. This one's nice too, right? So what's nice is you get the little timer here, kind of in the bottom here on huddle. Let's time it on the snap. Snap happens at 27:76. AJ Epenesa is in the backfield in about 2.5 seconds, which is very fast. Like he's heating up Hurts a little over 2 seconds, and he's making contact at about 2.5. And he leaves Mailata in just shambles over here on the left. trying to make a play on him. Mailata falls down in the dirt. Let's take a look at it in slow motion. So again, look, also, this is a nice highlight of the get off. Look at the get off. So here comes the snap. Bang. AJ's already up. Floyd's not doing a bad job either, but granted, there's some movement on the interior. The ball is snapped. AJ is already off and moving like he was in the backfield, and he knows the snap count. By the time the ball gets to Hurts, look where he is already, kind of crossed the line of scrimmage. He's ready and raring to go. So gets that strong get off. Watch it in slow-mo, and then we'll play it in real time again. Stabs inside. So he plants with that right foot, stabs inside. Look at where the leg is, right? You always want to establish that half-man relationship. You can take a offensive lineman on and bull rush them or go speed to power and try and go right through their chest. But a lot of times, especially in this instance, Epenesa isn't the biggest dude. Jordan Mailata is. You don't want to have to try and play through his chest. You want to establish that half-man relationship, which is you're kind of only playing off of half the man. In this case, he's trying to set him up so he can attack that outside shoulder of Jordan Mailata. Good placement here. That foot is kind of right almost in that midline of Mailata. It's a horrible angle from this angle, but if you notice like where his foot relative to where Mailata's feet are, it's almost right down the center. So he gets that stab, fakes inside, which causes Mailata to hesitate just a little bit. And again, the hand usage. Think about this every time you think about AJ Epenesa. If someone asks you why you think AJ Epenesa is going to have a good year, two things: get off and hand usage. And hand usage, both in terms of placement, technique, speed, precision, it's all of it. Do you have some pop in your hand? So when you hit a dude, they kind of jump a little bit, right? Do you have the precision where if you want to chop a dude on the wrist, do you get him on the wrist? Are your movements concise and crisp and precise like Epenesa's are? And then do you have the quickness to be able to hand fight with dudes like we showed on the previous snap? So here's another one. Again, highlighting that hand usage. Bang. Look at that swipe. Clubs right down. And again, notice the placement. It's hard to see a little bit, but there's the arm for Epenesa. It's right down on that forearm, right by that elbow. So when you chop down, that arm goes down. You're done. If you chop up here, they can still hang on and grab a little bit. You chop down at that anchor point for your opponent, so that way that arm comes loose. So he chops down on that arm, and now look what happens. He swings that arm almost completely back across Mailata, so Mailata needs to get contact, so he's reaching and grabbing with this. Horrible position if you're an offensive lineman. Your outside shoulder has been caved in. You're trying to reach back over and do something with your inside arm. Not ideal. You're beat. You're done right here. And then what's nice, watch how he finishes this off. I talked about it with Vaughn. You get upfield. If you win that outside shoulder, if you turn the corner, you run the arc, you don't get too far upfield. You beat your man. You get skinny. You try and shave that corner. You're trying to stay as tight to the man as possible and not let them push you upfield. So he stays tight and he turns this corner. He flattens to the quarterback. And again, when I say flatten, it just means you stayed flat. He didn't bubble. This wouldn't be flat, right? Like, this wouldn't be flat or come in here and having to circle back. No, just that ability to turn the corner and stay flat. And again, he's doing it against Jordan Mailata. Mailata gets hands on him or tries to. Nope. He's beat him, leans, stays flat. Mailata tries to push him a little bit. Doesn't get him too far off kilter. And he forces the incompletion. Really great play from Epenesa. And again, we'll watch it just in real time. Bang. Bang. Just swats it. Almost like you're snuffing out a candle. Like the flame on a candle. Man, that's beautiful hand usage. That's beautiful technique from AJ Epenesa. And again, the punch, right? Or the pop, I should say, in that chop. Mailata is going to establish touch. He's going to try and get his hand on Epenesa, and Epenesa sees it, immediately disconnects that arm from his body with power, with pop. But again, it's that precision where he hits Mailata on his arm, the angle at which he does it. And again, just how much like that arm just completely goes dead and is disconnected from Epenesa. So good. Similar to almost kind of like, it's almost like going to be a two-hand swipe, but no, it's just a straight, almost like it's basically a swim move is what he does here, because you see that inside arm come over, and that important part of the swim move, it's not just the arm coming over, that's the swim, it's that club. What does that club look like? And here you got a club kind of like a club chop, however you want to label it. You want to call it a club, cool. You want to call it a chop, whatever. Boom. Swats him, turns, leans, finishes at the quarterback. And again, how fluid it all is. Play one more time, and then I'll run from the other angle. Real nice. Thought this was a fumble real time in the game, but alas, it was not. Watch it from this angle, just to give you another appreciation for it. Boom. And also, again, too, notice, like we mentioned, how he sets it up with that initial stab inside with his left foot, just to give himself some leverage, something to base off of, something to pop off of and explode off of. Boom. And it cuts the arm. I also want to show from the sideline angle, again, talking about that flatten to the quarterback. Don't get too far upfield. So it gives your offensive lineman a chance to vertically kind of push you, or it gives the quarterback the chance to step up and you're going nowhere. Turn the corner and flatten to the quarterback. Watch Epenesa. Turn the corner, bang, flatten. Beeline right to the quarterback. And he gets pushed a little bit, but he still gets hands on him, makes a play. Very, 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 very nice. Again, that's a quality rush in general, but especially considering the caliber of opponent that it's coming up against. And I know Philly kind of fell apart last year. Jordan Mailata did not. That rep is tremendous. Also, Philly was still kind of cooking a little bit at this point. They were starting to show kind of some weaknesses, some vulnerabilities, but Mailata was cruising and had a great year, and Philly was still in a good spot at this point. Now, I've got two players highlighted. AJ Epenesa is on the left here. Greg Rousseau is on the right, and then we're going to start to show some more Greg Rousseau stuff as we go forward. Actually, let me grab some comments because I haven't grabbed any in a while. Let's see if there's anything. John Roberts says, Bills, AJ Epenesa crushes competition with astonishing grip strength. I like it. Mike says, Epenesa is a terror off the edge. I love his speed rush. He's perfect at right defensive end. I don't think we have any superstars at edge, but I do think that Groot and Epenesa are both meat and potato starters. I like that. And an 8 to 10 sack range. I think that's fine. Oh, I like this from K. Mori saying Groot, AJ, a healthy Vaughn, and Smoot should be a not amazing, but still an above average rotation. I love that you mentioned Dawuane Smoot because we're going to talk about him going forward. Well done. Nice segue. All right. Let's get into this clip. It'd be nice if I got back to the screen where Huddle is. Boom. There we go. Wanted to show this one. This is a run defense snap. Wanted to show some of this for AJ Epenesa because he was bad against the run a couple years ago. He improved towards the back end of 2022. I thought really kind of at the apex of that, his run defense performance against the Bears on Christmas Eve, I thought was really good. And then he put some things together last year as well against the run. And I wanted to show some of those run defense stats because I think he still has a reputation for not being a good run defender or it just doesn't get covered enough. So here's Epenesa on the left. Eyeballs Jordan Mailata. So we're getting some pulling action from Mailata and from Dickerson, number 69 there. But the important thing is Epenesa sees it. He sees that flash of color. Watch what he does. Eyes immediately go into the backfield. He's reading that mesh point. You have to honor Jalen Hurts' legs. You have to honor him as a runner in addition to being a thrower of the football. The Eagles, when they're cooking, are tremendous at this. This could be a handoff to the running back. Hurts could keep it and run it. It could be a pass. There's so many ways they can kind of get you into trouble. So here's Epenesa coming down the line, sees that flash of color from Mailata. Look at him diagnose the run point, or the mesh point. He literally breaks down, and his eyes are right there in the backfield. And he breaks, puts himself in a position where if this goes to Swift, he can kind of take an angle where he can either make a quick tackle here, chase him down the line a little potentially, or at the very least, make Swift have to take this and bubble out a little bit so that way his help defenders can come if you're Epenesa. So he plants on this leg, watches it, sees Swift doesn't have the ball. Watch him just close right down on Jalen Hurts. You watch it in real time. Boom. This looks like QB bash. Basically, QB GT counter bash. All that means is the bash aspect means the back is going away from the blocking scheme. So the blocking scheme is going to the right. The back is going to the left. And then the GT aspect, guard, a tackle. So G and T. Bills do this play. Teams that are running quarterbacks do this. The Ravens do it. The Eagles do it. The Bills have done it. This QB bash GT counter. It's a nice wrinkle to add. Bang. Really nice job from Epenesa there. Okay, I'm going to play it in real time again. Diagnose. Bang. Close down. good awareness, good athleticism to close down. Also wanted to highlight Groot. I didn't want to show too much run defense stuff for Groot in this episode because I think everybody knows how good of a run defender he is. And if we did good run defense snaps for Groot, we'd be here for like forever. Watch Groot come down. So this guard is trying to kick him out. Two things can happen here. If Groot tries to take the inside arm of Dickerson can kind of hook him and log block him and keep him inside. Or if Groot comes down, Dickerson's just mashing him, kicking him out and sealing him. So that way the tackle can kind of lead through that gap. But Groot comes down. Again, here's Mr. Gregory Rousseau, Mr. Groot. Boom. Watch him just avoid and Olay Dickerson. And they make contact. They should kind of go thigh on thigh, knee on knee. But because of that length, even though he's starting to trip, he's so long and he's able to make a play. Really nice job from Groot. And you can see Dickerson as he gets up. Where we go here? Mr. Landon Dickerson right here as he's on the ground. Watch him kind of get up and be like, oh, dang. He says it twice. Because this is a good move by Groot. Squeezing it down, whoop, dips that shoulder. That's some good athleticism, especially from a dude who's long, who's big, more of a compression or a physical guy. I would imagine Dickerson thinks Groot's going to try and mash me, and we're going shoulder to shoulder here. Let me bang on him and kick him out. Nope. Reads it, whoop, dip that shoulder. And what he's reading too, so let's go from Groot's perspective, and then we'll transition into some Groot stuff. He's seeing the double team here on Ed Oliver. So he sees that as he takes off on the line. And then he sees this flash of color here from Dickerson coming around the corner. He knows that block is coming. Let me get rid of this line there. But nice, again, being able to diagnose what's happening and make a play. Groot's eyes are in the backfield. He's reading what's going on. You can see his eyes are on the mesh point, similar to AJ Epenesa's. So his eyes are on the mesh point. To have your eyes back here and then being able to avoid a very good pulling guard, whoop, nice from Greg Rousseau. Good physical play. 2nd and 9, this play resulted in a loss of 1. This is a really good play from your edges. Again, this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, I'm worried, not worried, but I'm concerned. Actually, I should say worried. I am worried and concerned about the top tier pass rush production from the edge grouping. Do you have somebody who can go and get you a bucket? Someone who can consistently win one-on-one as a pass rusher? Do you have anyone that can do that? Do you have multiple guys? Do you have none? Like, that's where my concern lies. But we're just talking about as an edge grouping defending the run. I'm not worried about it if I'm the Buffalo Bills, because I have faith in Groot. I think Epenesa's made strides there. I think Vaughn gives you enough there. And then if Smoot is the 4th or Casey Toohill, I think you have enough kind of rounded out group. Again, Kingsley Jonathan, maybe it's Javon Solomon. You've got different aspects for each guy. Oh, got to take another sip of water. Pardon me. That's the issue with going live. Every time I got to do a drink, I got to alert everybody. Well, I guess you can also see it, so it's not too crazy. One more time. Just really good edge play. Boom, boom. And they meet. Meeting the minds right at the quarterback. Really nice play. Now, let's go to Mr. Greg Rousseau, who I am jumping all over the place for his film. Where's the Bengals? There's the Bengals. Also not a great game, but a fun moment for Greg Rousseau here. Want to talk about some of his metrics first. I mentioned them briefly in different shows. Again, much like AJ Epenesa, amongst those 118 qualifying edges in 2023, Groot was tied for 24th in pass rush productivity. He was 22nd in total pressures. He was tied for 10th in QB hits. He was tied for 23rd in hurries, and he was tied for 21st in win percentage. So a sneaky, productive season from a pass rush standpoint. That didn't translate into sacks, but the pressures, the hits, the hurries, I also think that's an aspect of his game. You know, as we start to get into the tape here, I think an aspect of his game that would be nice to see him take a jump in is getting home and getting to the quarterback. I think he's very much been, and this isn't necessarily a negative, just kind of what he is. I think he's very much been a pocket compression style of rusher. The guy who's going to use his length and power and strength and back you up into the quarterback. Squeeze those rush lanes, constrict the pocket, keep the quarterback in the pocket, use that length to occupy an offensive lineman, be able to two gap a little bit or show over here and then be able to just reach that pterodactyl arm into the other gap and make a play on a running back or a QB. He's not a big change of direction guy. He's not this big moves, pass rush plan type of guy. He was also green at this position with his experience at the University of Miami and coming out. And then he's had some injuries here and there. So I think his pass rush game has always been a work in progress in terms of the cerebral nature of it, in terms of moves and plan. Now, he understands what's going on, and he has tremendous hand usage, similar to AJ Epenesa, to go along with that length and that strength. But a lot of his game has very much just been compression. Let me push this guy or let me go through this guy. What I want to show with these clips here from last year is something I want to see more of from him in 2024. And if he can do more of this, I think he can be more of a complete or true edge one and be an edge one against the pass in addition to being an edge one against the run. I want to see more of this move set and more of a skilled rush. Not that it doesn't take skill to go through a dude and compress the pocket, but when I say skilled, I mean more hand usage, plan, being able to defeat a man with some quickness or some sort of element that isn't just I'm long and strong, let me push through this dude's face and get through, because that's not going to work consistently all the time. Or it's not necessarily going to translate into sacks, which I think is something that we saw last year. For as good as his stats were from an advanced metric standpoint, again, pass rush productivity, hits, hurries, overall pressures, you didn't see that translate into a lot of sacks for him. And again, I think there is a lot of value in pressures, especially if you're a long dude like him and you can compress the pocket and then get your hand up and change throwing angles for quarterbacks. But it would be nice to see that translate into more sacks for him. And I think that'll come from not just being mainly a pocket compression type of dude. So let's get into this first one. Against Cincinnati Bengals, low red zone. Here he is circled on the left side of the screen. Again, not a crazy get off. Jonah Williams, 73 there for the Bengals, meets him out. Watch the move. Hand placement. Eric and I had him in the film room last year, and I really loved hearing him talk about his hand usage. Like when he's going up against a dude, he's watching, as he should, he's watching their movement and trying to get a hand in those leverage points in the chest, on the sternum, in the shoulder pad. Like he's looking for specific areas to hit, to grab, to move, to use to his advantage. As a lot of guys do, but his ability to execute with it happens consistently, especially against the run, but it flashes a little bit here against the pass like it does on this play. This is what I want to see more of. So get that long, nice established hand placement there right on the pec of Jonah Williams. Watch him get Jonah Williams off his feet because he's lower than Jonah Williams. You get some more of that lean. Again, we're showing a lot of body leverage lean in this episode. Look at him take Jonah Williams off his feet, open up that inside, and get inside quickly and make a hit on Burrow. Forces a quick throw, and it ends up being an incompletion. Again, if we want to play the quickness game and time it, ball is snapped at 45:50. It's been 1 second right now. He is into the backfield at about 2 seconds. He's impacting this throw and forcing this throw around 2 seconds, which is fine for Joe Burrow because he loves a quick game because that's the type of guy that he is. But this is him impacting the throw. This is the pressure. This is a great rep. And it happens because of the pop and the strength in the hands. Boom. Gets him right off his feet, opens up that inside, and then barrels down. That's a tremendous rep. Boom. This is what I want to see more of from Groot, where he's winning in these lanes. I don't think he's ever going to be a dude that's going to win around the arc. Like he's not going to dip and bend and win around the corner or even flatten a little bit. He's either going through you or I think he has the chance to beat you inside. This is a really nice inside move. Again, boom, there's that hand placement. And you can see the hand placement in terms of where it goes, but also the strength in it because of how, granted, Williams isn't in great position here when Groot makes this contact. Like he doesn't have a solid base. He's on his heels, but also he's on his heels with this inside foot, but I also don't think this foot is even touching the ground. So it's really good timing from Groot. Just look at him lift this grown man almost off his feet. This foot is now off the ground. This foot is sideways. Just pries him open, opens up that inside, and then gives him another little chuck for good measure with that hand to make sure he can't get in, follows through, boom, and then puts a good hit on the quarterback. That's a hit. That's a pressure. That's a hurry. Boom. Really good rush from Mr. Greg Rousseau. Now, oh, good comment here from Thomas saying, "Do you see AJ taking the majority of the Floyd snaps? Does that get him to 10 sacks?" If Epenesa plays at the pace he did last year, that 100% gets him to 10 sacks. In terms of the majority of Floyd snaps, uh, I do think Vaughn's going to get a significant chunk. I do think Vaughn's going to be edge 3 or edge 2. But I would say overall, from a snap share perspective, yeah, I'd probably lean AJ like 55-45 in terms of him and Vaughn taking those snaps if I had to put like a number or percentage on it. That's a good question. One more time, just because I really like this play. Boom, opens him up. Hand placement, usage. Again, tying into that length. Really nice play. Another play for Mr. Greg Rousseau. We're going to go to the game against the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. We're going to go to play 9. All right, Greg Rousseau. All right, here we go. Mr. Greg Rousseau. Line up in a bit of a wider alignment because he's head up on the tight end here. Kansas City, shocking tight end or multiple tight end grouping and also in a condensed formation. Who would have thought? Okay, let's watch Mr. Greg Rousseau. This one's nice too. So tight end releases, Travis Kelce. He's not staying in a block. Watch the positioning of Groot. Footwork, a little hesitation. Bang, gets inside. Again, hand placement and strength. He gets that club right there on that shoulder and watch him cave in that inside. What do we see again? Getting another offensive tackle off balance. All the weight is on this outside foot. This foot for the tackle is starting to come off the ground. It does come off the ground. Look at this. You're done. You're dead. You are dead. Your only hope here is that Greg Rousseau trips over this leg. I don't know if this is purposeful tripping or more just like I got waxed. My leg is out there because I'm off balance. Either way, it's not great, but little hesitation. Again, I'll play it in real time and then break it down slow. Hesitation, boom. And then watch him fight through like a beast. This ends up being a 9-yard gain for Kansas City. Good job by Edwards-Helaire on the back end. But let's go in slow-mo now. Well, go real time first. Again, a little hesitation. He's diagnosing what he's seeing in the backfield, but the mesh point stops. Mahomes here is already stopping this mesh point. So now Groot says, okay, let me get into the backfield. A little bit too much of an over pursuit on the outside. Again, this hand, the placement, the strength, just chucks him to the side. Now watch him get through. Tooney comes over to give him some help. And look at Groot just Godzilla his way through 2 grown men. One of them being one of the best guards in all of football, one of the best linemen in all of football, Joe Tooney. Look at him. Just walk both guys back, heats up Mahomes, help force this throw. Also is in the passing window here, so if Mahomes wanted to go this way, this is kind of muddied because his hand is up and he's in that lane. Just a very, very, very dominant rep physically. Chuck your man, get through 2 dudes. The length showing up, the size, the frame, the strength. But again, similar to that Cincinnati clip I just showed, an inside move, not just, okay, let me go and put 2 hands on a guy and push him into the backfield. Using that length, using that strength, using that hand placement and hand pop, overall hand usage, using it to win inside and having a quick lane to the quarterback. Again, I don't think Groot is going to be a guy who's going to hezzy. Maybe at most he could be a hezzy, swat these arms, and turn the corner here. But he's not a great change of direction guy. He's not a bend and dip type of guy, which is understandable. He's built like a redwood tree, and redwood trees don't really bend like that. So he's either going through you or he's going to get you off kilter with his hands and win inside. I would like to see him win inside more so that way he's a threat to do that instead of just being a go through you kind of guy. This I think is a real key for him just because I don't see him. If he's going to win outside, it's going to be with a 2-hand swipe, or actually kind of a similar move to this, just going in the opposite direction. But I just don't see it happening consistently because, again, the change of direction, the lack of change of direction and bend that he has, which is understandable given his size and frame and body composition. But this rep is so strong, especially after he diagnoses and commits. Boom. That ability to just chuck a dude. And then also notice how he reduces his surface area a little bit so he can get through the gap. And just leans into Tooney and Godzilla's his way through. Really nice rep from Greg Rousseau. Watch it one more time in real time. And then we'll go to the next one for Groot. Let me go this one over here. Again, just seeing it. Now Groot's on the right there. Same play. Whoop. Chuck your man. Barrel through. Be a monster. Just be a monster. Play like Godzilla. That's it. Next one I want to go to for Mr. Rousseau is 17th defensive play against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, similar thought or idea behind why I'm showing this play and why I'm showing this clip. Rousseau off the right. Aggressive set. Well, not aggressive set, but quick out of his set for the right tackle. What do you see Groot do? Hezzy. Boom. Quick little club. This one is a clean win that results in a sack. Playing in real time. Nothing crazy about this one. Just sets him up. Similar to what we saw in that play against Kansas City. A little hesitation. Hit inside. Club on the shoulder pad. This one's just clean. This time, actually, let's pause it here. This time, he wins. There's no Joe Tooney here, and there's no help from the right guard to kind of hold up Groot like there was on the last play. Groot also keeps his feet a little bit better on this one than he did against Kansas City, but there's no help from the interior offensive lineman for this tackle like there was on the previous play, and it's just a beeline bearing down right on the quarterback. That's what you're hoping for Groot this year. If he's getting to double-digit sacks, it's because he's winning inside with this. And he's got it in his game. We just have to see him use it more consistently. Boom. I think also being healthy would help. If he's not dealing with broken feet or a banged-up ankle, allowing him to, be able to turn and plant and use his wheels better will also help him be able to mitigate the lack of bend. If you're already a dude who doesn't have a lot of dip or bend to your game, and then you've got, busted wheels, it's just going to limit you further. And this rush is tremendous. Again, and it's quick, right? There's no mucking around. There's no dancing too much. It's a quick hesitation, plant, get inside. Also, too, with Groot, with his size and strength, this is a clean win, which is awesome. He doesn't necessarily need to win this clean. If he can just get half of that shoulder and then push through and pry through and open you up like he did against Jonah Williams, that's also possible for him. Nice rush. Bearing right down on Mason Rudolph. We'll play it one more time in real time. Boop. Bearing down on him. Real nice. Real nice. Real nice. Now, the next player I want to show as I stop the screen there. Also want to show some love for the sponsor as we dive into the next segment here. If you have not already, check out One Pipe Pizza if you live in the Buffalo area or if you are visiting. Legitimately, for me, the best pizza money can buy in Buffalo, New York. Sweet sauce pie, cup and char pepperoni, homemade blue cheese, great cheese to sauce ratio. And like I say, every episode they do a lot of pieces for the community in terms of helping the community and providing support, whether it's Toys for Tots, whether it's the drives they do with the SPCA and the Alzheimer's Foundation, or try and partner with Roswell to try and knock out cancer. There's a lot of good they do for the city of Buffalo and the community at large. So treat your taste buds and yourself to some One Pie Pizza, and also treat the community and support a nice, small local owned business who makes a tremendous product and also tries to do some good with it. Got this comment here from Robert Wilson saying, I am praying Javon Solomon is a hell of a surprise being a dynamic pass rusher. I understand Javon is a rookie. He is a rookie. We're going to talk about him here and show some stats as I take a quick drink of water. Okay, cool. Drink of water done. Nice segue to Mr. Javon Solomon, who, again, I've been meaning to get into his film. I was going to do it in a solo episode or a one-off or all these different pieces, and then the way it kind of just lined up into this one, I thought kind of made a lot of sense. So an edge rusher who, and I talked about it when Greg and I did the post-draft episode reaction for each night and day of the draft. Javon Solomon was someone who I just didn't think would be on the Bills' radar because of his size. He ticks some of the boxes for the Bills, but I'm actually going to grab that tweet because I don't. I should have had it up before, but I didn't. He's just not a guy who ticked the box from a size and frame perspective or what I thought. So if you look at who he is. Height, 6'7" 8". That's the 0 percentile for edges. Weight, 246 pounds. That is the 8th percentile. When it comes to wingspan and arm length and hand size, he's okay with all that. So wingspan, he's in the 51st percentile. Arm length, 63rd. Hand size, 96th. And then he's not bad from an athletic testing standpoint. 35th percentile for 10-yard split, not great, but 67th for 40-yard dash, 86th for vertical jump, 67th percentile for broad jump, and 48th percentile for bench press. Again, dudes with longer arms usually struggle with the bench press a little bit. But when you look at what Brandon Beane has looked for in his edges in the Beane era for the Buffalo Bills, the average height for guys who have been drafted off the edge for the Buffalo Bills has been 6'5". Again, Javon Solomon, almost 6'1", but not quite. So over 4 inches shorter than the average they go for. Average weight in the Brandon Beane era, 270 pounds, 270.2 to be specific. Javon Solomon, again, 246 pounds. So about a 24-pound difference. Arm length is close. They go for 34.13 inches under Beane, 33 7/8 inches for Solomon. Broad jump, they look for dudes that are 117.33. Solomon actually beat that and 119. 10-yard split is spot on, 1.65 average in the Beane era and 1.66 for Javon Solomon. So for some pieces, he's right on with the averages in terms of what the Bills have drafted at the edge position. But he's a huge outlier for size and for weight at the edge position. Again, the Bills traditionally have gone for pocket compression style of rushers. Leonard Floyd, Von Miller are outliers. They look for Boogie Basham and Greg Rousseau and these dudes that are big, thicker type dudes that are going to compress the pocket. You're going to walk a tackle back. They don't really go for bendy guys, athletic guys, moves guys, playing guys right out the gate. They look for length. They look for size. They look for weight. They look for frame. They want heavy dudes that will play the run and compress the pocket and bang against tackles. So Solomon was a bit of an outlier. I thought he was a fine player and a fun player, especially when you look at some of the production. Out of 471 qualifying edges in 2023, he was tied for 33rd in pass rush productivity. He was second in the entire nation in sacks. Again, this is per PFF. They don't do half sacks. He was second in the entire nation for sacks. I believe if you're counting like half sacks and you're not doing what PFF does, I think he led the nation in sacks. Then he was tied for 23rd in pressures, tied for 24th in hits, and 47th in win percentage. Do see a lot of snaps in college football, so that's why there's 471 qualifying edges. If you narrow down the filter and go for guys who saw heavier snaps, his numbers get better. So he was productive. He's got moves. He's got plan, but he didn't really tick some of the boxes from a weight and height perspective that are significant for the Bills. And he's a significant outlier. Again, their average height is 6'5". It's not like, well, he's 6'3" or 6'4". He's not even officially 6'1". And then weight, they look for dudes that are 270. It's not like, oh, well, he's 260 or 255. He's 246. Those are significant. But I digress. Let's get into some film for Mr. Javon Solomon. I want to just kind of put in perspective who he is, what he is, how he wins. Kind of a little bit opposite, ironically, of what we just showed for Groot. You're not going to see a lot of inside winning for Javon Solomon. The plays that I showed here, I went through 3 full games. I didn't have a ton of Troy tape. I usually like to watch 4 to 6 games for a dude. So there is some sample size potentially missing there with me watching 3 games. But what I'm showing you is representative of who he is in these games and a microcosm of what and who he is as a rusher. So this first play, run defense rep for him. Just want to kind of show you his game as a whole. See some of the quickness. Watch him get across the face of the tackle, bang inside, make a stop on the run. This is the first play of the game. Good effort, good motor, reduce your surface area. Wanted to show it from this angle just so you can see how he affects that line. Again, he stays flat. He's not getting pushed off. He's getting right down the line of scrimmage, not getting driven off the play. Smaller type of dude, but has enough core strength where you're not just going to bully him. I do think adjusting to NFL size is going to be an issue for him and seeing how we can handle that. But we'll see. Also, something to note for Troy, and you'll see this right here. In Troy's defense, he's lining up here a lot. So this is if you go by number alignment versus an offensive lineman. So lining head up on the center is a 0, lining head up on the guard is a 2, lining head up on the tackle is a 4. So he's lined up as a 4. You'll see him on the inside shoulder of the tackle at times. That's a 4I. I don't think at his size, this is suitable for him. You are going to see him living outside as an edge player. That should set him up better for success. You'll see a lot of his good wins on tape here come when he's lined up outside on the edge. I think that's how the Bills will also deploy him. So that comes into perspective as well. The fact that he had the production that he had from a sack perspective and pressure perspective, considering he was seeing a bunch of reps still on the inside, where I don't think that's most advantageous, given his size and frame, is another feather in his cap. But again, you watch quickness, mirrors what he's got going on in front of him. Watch him get skinny here, turn sideways, reduces his surface area so he can maintain momentum, not get blown off the ball here. Splits these two, fights through, makes a tackle in the backfield. Nice rep. He's got a motor. I said it on draft day when he got taken. He plays like a velociraptor. And when I mean that, or when I say that is motor, effort, relentlessness, hand usage, violence. Like, he is always trying to attack. He's always trying to play on the front foot, whether he's rushing the quarterback, whether he's trying to make a play against the run. Again, adjusting to NFL size, I think, is going to be, to say it lightly, an adjustment for him. Guys with length, guys with hand strength, guys with grip strength, but more importantly, the size and the frame and the weight, where if they get a hold of him, are they going to bully him and just stalemate him and kind of put him in quicksand and he's got nowhere to go? Can he function against NFL size and strength and NFL quickness as well? Like, because these dudes, these linemen, a lot of them are going to have like 60 pounds on him and be similar to him in terms of athleticism. So that's going to be an adjustment. I don't want to say a struggle, but I do think it'll be a challenge for him. What's nice is, and I'm going to show you as we go forward, he already employs a lot of pass rush plan and moves and understanding how to beat guys, how to set guys up, how to win against guys. So that's in his favor. He's got good hands. He has moves. He has plan. That's very nice. And I think that sets him up for success a little bit, but the size is going to be a challenge. Another one here for Solomon again. So notice what we got, what I said: 0, a 2, a 4. Well, that's a little offset, but head up on the tackle would be a 4, where Solomon on the inside shoulder. So that's a 4I for Mr. Javon Solomon. Not the most advantageous thing when you're 6 foot, 246 pounds. But nonetheless, watch him make this play here. Again, I wanted to show some run stuff. Look at how he, on the snap, he moves down. Diagnose what's going on. Watch the dip right here. Lowers that shoulder, dips, rips through, reduces his surface area. Again, being able to get penetration into the backfield. That's what he is. If he's making plays against the run, he's penetrating, he's one-gapping, he's winning with quickness, reducing his surface area, getting into the backfield. This is what you're going to see. Again, you're not going to see this with the Bills because he's not going to be in a 4I. Like, they're not going to take him at his size and line him up on the inside shoulder of a tackle in the NFL. He'll get eaten. Like, that there's no way that's going to happen. Not to mention, too, the Bills' defensive alignment, they don't play with this kind of stuff a lot or regularly. And if they do, this is going to be Groot, or this is going to be Ed Oliver, or Smoot, or a bigger body defensive end, or even defensive tackle if they're going with bare front stuff or tight front or anything like that. But again, I just wanted to show you the effort he shows against playing the run. He's not some dude with a ton of pass rush numbers and doesn't have substance against the run, which is nice to see. Now, more conducive to his frame and style, you see him in a 2-point stance. You see him more outside here. We're going to show the end zone in a minute. Watch the pass rush here. Watch the juice, the get off, the impact. Who cares if the pass was completed? I don't care about that. Watch on the snap, boom. The quickness, and look at the lean. Look how he leans through that shoulder. When he's winning, he is winning through the arc. He's winning through the outside shoulder of an offensive tackle. He is getting through with dip and bend, some hand usage, a combination of all of it. Get off isn't too, it's not awful. It's not amazing. It's not AJ Epenesa level, but he's got this innate ability to turn the corner. He's got enough flexibility, bend, but he's got good core strength, arm length, and hand usage that allows him to beat arms, beat shoulders, chop down hands, and then dip, lean, flatten, and come through offensive tackles around the arc. So going slow-mo here again. See the get off out in space. not in a 4, not in a 4-eye alignment where he's in close quarters against dudes who outweigh him and maybe match his arm length, but definitely have a bigger size and frame than him. He's out in space, gets a one-on-one opportunity. This is what you're going to see for him. He's going to press that outside shoulder. He's going to try and turn the corner. He might jab inside every once in a while or try to set something up inside, but he's not a big inside moves guy. He is an outside dip, bend, rip, hand usage, cross chop type of guy. And you see, watch here as he gets out, feigns that inside arm, right? Puts his hand out, and then look how he dips, powers through, gets some good core strength. Offensive tackle can only get on his back, but look how he pushes through. He doesn't get driven into the ground. He doesn't get bubbled outside or too far upfield. He's able to stay flat and bear down on this quarterback, get a pressure, and get a nice hit. We're going to take a look at it from the end zone angle. You're going to see this move a lot from him where he's going to put that arm up. I can never tell if it's like him trying to like set up a ghost rush or if he's going for a literal like chop and he's trying to put it up and then wait for the tackle to put his outside hand up so he can chop it down and rip through. You're going to see this move a lot from him where he is putting that arm up and then bending through. And again, what do you see? Flatten, core strength, puts the arm up, tackle flashes his hands. Cool. Let me dip and lean through. Then you see that inside arm rip through, flattens, good core strength, which he should have, lower center of gravity. He's going to have a lower center of gravity than pretty much everyone he comes up against, but his ability to use it consistently is a very nice piece. Let me go to some comments because I have been slacking on that. Mike says, is Solomon a niche player, i.e. blitzing from a Sam or in a wide defense? I think he's just an edge defender. If you want to, I think he's more right now, more of a sub package player. I think that falls into the niche umbrella or niche categorization. I would say, yeah, he's more of a sub package dude. I think he's a third down rusher. If he balls out in camp like he potentially can as a pass rusher, I think he's a dude that I think if he balls out and you want to get him into the lineup, I think you're probably dressing 5 defensive ends on game day. And then he's seeing maybe 10 to 12 snaps on passing downs or known passing situations, and you're using him just to go hunt the QB. Not that he can't defend the run. I just don't think you want him at that size and frame. You're looking at him right now, early on, as a pass rush specialist, getting his feet wet, adjusting to size, frame, weight, speed, NFL strength, all of that stuff, and you're letting him kind of just hunt from a pass rush perspective. Jenna says that she's very excited for Javon. What up, Jenna? Oh, clicking too many things. Mike says, can he drop back as a linebacker occasionally? You'll see him do it. I probably don't want to do that. You can from time to time in a similar fashion, like the Bills drop Rousseau or Vaughn or these dudes to kind of, again, simulated pressures, creeper pressures. But I don't think he's an off-ball linebacker in the NFL. I think he is a pass rusher. If he adds a little weight, we'll see. Or can he live in that small type of Elvis? Oh, I am flubbing words tonight. Elvis Doomerville type of role. Can he do that? We'll see. But I wouldn't drop him a ton. Occasionally, sure. If you want to do a zone blitz or if you want to do a creeper or a sim, you're more than welcome to. But I'm not going to do that regularly. Can he play special teams? I'm going to see if he has any special teams reps. Let me look that up. Yes, he actually has a good amount of special team stuff. Not necessarily coverage. He has some punt coverage reps. He has 37 punt coverage reps in 2021. A lot of his special teams reps have been on field goal block, punt return, and kick return. 48 special teams reps in 2023, 87 in 22, 78 in 21, 70 in 2020, 8 in 2019. But again, a lot of those are more on return units as opposed to coverage, but he does have some coverage experience from a punt perspective and kick perspective. So sure, in theory, I know we're always about special teams in terms of guys making contributions, but with his 40 time, again, runs like a 4.7 40, you could get some teams work out of him. Next rep for Mr. Javon Solomon. This is where it really gets fun. Okay, again, notice we're not in a 4. We're not in a 4-eye. We're outside. We're coming off the edge. We're allowed to get into this space. When you have a wider alignment and you have an edge rusher out in space, this puts this tackle into an island. You get more of a true one-on-one scenario, and that's where he wants to win. Here comes the snap. Boom. Again, what do we see like the other one? Normally goes for that chop or he's going for some move, that inside hand. This one's nice. We've shown this multiple times. We showed it with AJ Epenesa tonight. We showed it with Von Miller. Look at the long arm. Look at the stab right into the chest. And then look at the body lean that accompanies it, right? Nice lean. This is a nice physical one. Again, if you can maintain this strength, he's going to have this opportunity because he's going to be shorter than pretty much everyone he comes up against. Not even pretty much everyone he comes up against because he's the size of like a tall running back. He's going to have this opportunity to win leverage if he can go speed to power regularly. Again, I think that's a significant question considering he's 246 pounds. But this is a really nice long arm, good stab. He wins first touch here. Again, pretty good arm length considering his size. Boom, right into the chest. And look at the change there. Look at the neck snap forward. You get some whiplash on that tackle. And then powers through, rips through, chases the man down for the sack. I'm going to play it in real time, and then we're going to go in slow-mo and break it down again. Because there's a nice piece at the end there. Oof. So 3 things with the hand usage that I like on this one. Again, we get that initial placement right in the chest that sets up that long arm. Boom. Left arm in there. Long arm. Nice. Watch. I know it's hard to see from this angle. College only gives us 2. Watch the outside arm. Watch the right arm. Fights through the outside arm of the tackle. Removes it. And then boom. Look at, you can see it right there. Perfect timing. Shout out to myself for this. It's nice because he has the white glove. Chops down on that outside arm. And then when he chops through that outside arm, he then rips and brings himself through, and he runs the arc. Again, hand usage, all in the blink of an eye. You get speed, you get some dip, you get some bend, you get some core strength. Again, he's able to flatten to the QB, which is nice, but there's multiple aspects that can translate to the NFL here. What's also nice about this one is, again, you're putting moves together. It's not just, well, you got the long arm and you got through. Hit him with a long arm, right? Transition that into a chop, and then transition that chop into a rip and a pull through. Boom. Kind of 3 moves, all in the blink of an eye, chaining them together, transitioning from one to the other in succession in the blink of an eye, and using all that with some dip, with some bend, some core strength to flatten and get through. That is translatable. That is nice. One more time. Going slow-mo. Again, stab. And let's also play it in real time too. Just watch the boom. Gets him popped a little. Little bit of pop in those hands. Good long arm. Establish first touch. Knock back the man a little bit. Jolt him. So you get the long arm, you get the chop, and the rip. All in the blink of an eye. Nice professional approach. Another rush for Mr. Troy Solomon. Again, what I say, when he's cooking, when he's winning, he's in a 2-point. He's outside. He's threatening to run the arc. He's trying to get into space against dudes. He's winning on that outside. He's turning the corner. Here he comes again. Different offensive lineman this time. Different left tackle. What did I say earlier, right? That left arm that kind of comes through like he's kind of using it to try and get that offensive tackle to throw his hands and either chop him down or just throw it up and then bend and dip and rip through. Here it comes again. Bend, dip, again, flatten. Flatten, flatten, flatten. We've talked about it a bunch tonight in the clips we've shown. And heat up the quarterback. Nice quick pressure. Again, that tackle is going to be able to get hands on him. Isn't able to push him too wide. Solomon's able to fight through it. Again, you're going to see this move all the time. He's going to bend. He's going to lean. He's going to throw that hand up, get that offensive tackle to shoot his hands, and then he's either going to chop down on those hands or, like this, he hasn't made contact here yet, right? So here we go. Throw the hands, and immediately he drops it, and he's trying to go through. And he's kind of got him a little bit because of the angle and the quickness that he has. But again, it's that bend, it's the dip, it's the core strength, the ability to flatten and get through. You're seeing similar themes with this. Hand usage, dip, bend, turn in the corner. You're going to see some pop in the chest, some functionality there, but he's not this big inside moves guy. He's not a huge bull rush or necessarily a speed to power guy. You're going to see hand usage, plan, threaten the outside, try and turn the corner. Another one here, again, wide alignment, out in space. Oof, that one's nice. Then you get the strip and the sack. one more time in real time, and then we'll go into slow-mo. And this one's nice too because he's winded. You can see him breathing heavy. He's sucking wind, and he's still able to just win almost instantaneously. Let's break it down in slow-mo again. Hand usage, hand placement. Okay. Goes for that long arm again, like he did a couple clips ago. Gets it right into the chest. Good placement, good lean, long arm right in the chest. You're leaning where you've got leverage. You're able to drive your man, but not too much where you're out in front of your feet. You're not really generating or maximizing balance and power. Watch the outside hand. Again, we can see it because he's wearing those nice white gloves. Look at him get the hand right on the wrist. He's established wrist control. What are you going to do when you establish wrist control? He maintains that long arm, chucks that wrist right off him. And you can see the leverage effect it has on the left tackle. Watch as he grabs the wrist. That's what causes the left tackle 72 to fall so significantly. Because he rips that wrist off and he uses it to then pull himself through. So not only does he grab it and remove it, long arm, boom, grab the wrist, get it off you, and then he chucks it and also pulls himself with it. He chucks it, pulls himself through with the long arm as he pulls and detaches, but also still has that wrist control that he chucks down and pulls himself through with. Boom. And then he chops through the arms. Again, all in the blink of an eye. Really nice stuff from Mr. Javon Solomon. Boom. Boom. Real nice. Then he gets to the QB. And again, this is where the nice long arms come into play and the big hands. You run that arc, you turn the corner, having that ability. Like the QB tries to step up a little. Actually, he doesn't even, but Solomon's just taking a wide angle, gets him right on the elbow, strips, play on the ball, long arms, big hands, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, all that kind of stuff. Timothy says, oh, love what you do. Appreciate you. Got to catch some Z's. Go Bills. Appreciate you, Timothy. Thank you very much. Also appreciate you smashing that like button with that Macho Man elbow drop like you mentioned earlier. Appreciate you. Let's go to some more Javon Solomon clips, and then we're going to wrap this up here. A lot of these wanted to show, again, his ability to hug the line of scrimmage, to play flat, and take good angles to the football. So a lot of these plays are going to show you the sideline angle and also going to show you the end zone angle. So here's another game from him. Have him highlighted here with this arrow again, more of a reduced alignment because that's the defense they play, not necessarily what's best for him. I want you to watch how we're going to show from the end zone angle for you to see his lateral agility and explosion, but watch how tight he stays to the line of scrimmage here as he crashes down and makes the play on the running back. A little bit of meeting of the minds there with his other defender, similar to the Rousseau and Epenesa play that we showed earlier, just a little bit different. Again, stay tight. Shave the corner, come down the line of scrimmage. So remember that angle, right? Think about how tight he is to the line of scrimmage, comes crashing down, makes the play on the running back. Now let's show from the end zone angle. Have him highlighted there with the arrow again. Steps outside. Also helps. It's a little dramatic. It's a good step. Like he makes a good lateral step and bursts outside, but then this offensive line is also shifting down this way, so it helps a little bit. But watch him step. He reads what's going on. Look how he's already leaning, so he can turn and hug the line of scrimmage and shave that corner. You don't want to get too far upfield. You don't want to take this angle and have somebody run by you. You want to shave that corner. You want to stay tight to the line of scrimmage, and he does. Stays tight, hustles down, boom. Meets at the running back. Good play. Another one. Have him highlighted with the arrow, again, in that kind of reduced alignment. This is a pass rush, but this one highlights kind of the motor and the effort that he plays with. Gets upfield. Move doesn't work initially, but he reads what's happening with the quarterback, but he's also reading his man. So he knows right now, you can just see the alignment here and the position of the tackle. He knows he's not getting around him and he's not getting through him. His initial thing didn't work unless he set this up from the get-go. It's not going to work, so cool. Let me get inside. Gets inside, sees the quarterback is escaping, so he puts the brakes on, gets back outside, hand usage, keeps himself clear, heats up the quarterback, forces an incompletion. Watch it from the end zone angle. Again, more of a reduced alignment than you are going to see with the Bills. Almost on the outside shoulder of the tackle this time, but still, you don't want him living here or here or here. You want him out in space like we've shown where he can really eat. Watch him here. A little late off the snap. Not the best get off Almost looks like he goes for that jumping cross chop a little bit. He's trying to use his inside hand and chop down and pull himself through. Doesn't get it. Gets hit in midair and gets actually pushed. You see the offensive lineman has his inside arm. It's on the shoulder pad. He's hit him. He got first touch. He's chucked him a little bit. So Solomon is off kilter. Doesn't have a lot of momentum, but he feels the leverage of the tackle. So he puts the brakes on. What do you see? Hand placement, hand usage. Chucks him. Comes inside. We lose him for a minute. Now, boom, he's bearing down on the quarterback. Oh, quarterback's escaping. Put the brakes on. Watch the outside hand. Boom. Club your man. Get clear. Nice. Motor, effort, velociraptor type stuff from Javon Solomon. Does it against the run, but you see here against the pass. Adjusting your plan, adjusting your movement. All the while having some athleticism, having some hand usage, having some hand pop, all that kind of stuff. Relentless motor, relentless effort going up against the QB. Wow, that guy's right in front of the camera. That's super funny. This one here from Javon Solomon, you cannot see him at all because this is funny too because, again, of the alignment, but also his size, right? He is lined up right head up on this left tackle. You cannot see him because he's, again, 6 foot, 246 pounds. This looks like there's nobody here for Troy. It looks like it's just the linebacker. But Javon Solomon is here. I promise you. This is a bit of a velociraptor rep against the run. On the snap. This is him right here. So he's engaging with that left guard. Head up. And now we get a bit of a feed block from that left tackle. So he's helping out. We get a bit of a double team. They're both on him. Watch what happens. Just everything here. Now he's kind of keeled over a little bit. He's off kilter. But watch how he just fights through. Feels that split in the double team. He gets through it. Gets his head up. And he makes a play on the running back. Jumps on his back. Helps stall him until his teammates come and help out. We'll watch it all in real time. Boom. Little velociraptor action. Again, I don't know how well he's going to play the run in the NFL because of his size and his frame, especially early on. I think he's more of a sub package type of dude, but just highlighting that motor and that effort that he has. And understanding and feeling kind of what's going on, especially as that interior player. Like if you are in a reduced alignment like he is here, you have responsibility on these inside gaps. So he's working. And it doesn't have to be the cleanest thing. The fact that he's able to just withstand the double team and muddy it up is enough. The fact that he's able to also play off of it, split it, is a good play. Also, because if he doesn't, this running back's getting through and maybe he's getting like a positive gain. And if he breaks a tackle, who knows, could get a little bit more. Okay, some real juicy ones here for Mr. Javon Solomon. Now, no more 4-eye alignment or 4 alignment lining up, head up on the tackle on the inside shoulder of him. 2-point stance outside. And there he is. What's he doing? Dipping, ripping, bending around the corner, turning the arc, flattening, or just taking an angle to the quarterback wherever the QB is. Boom. I'm going to show it again from this angle in real time. Then we'll show it from the end zone angle in real time and go for some slow-mo to break down what he does. Bears right down on the quarterback. And again, if you saw it in the real time, what did you see? Like we've seen, go to the out. What's he doing? He's going to go to the outside. There goes that inside hand, that left hand. If he's rushing off the right side or left side from our vantage point here, throws up that left hand. Almost like this one mirrors more of like a ghost rush. Like he's throwing it just to get the lineman to throw his hand so he can dip. That's why you watch it. And I don't know if he's really going for a chop or going for a ghost rush. It feels and looks more ghost rushy to me. But either way, it's the same premise and same purpose. He's throwing that arm, almost feigning it. Because what does it do? Gets the offensive tackle to throw his hands. And then what does he do? He dips, he leans, he bends, he turns that corner. You get the rip with that inside arm, and he's going through. Rinse and repeat if you are Javon Solomon. Win around the corner, turn the corner, dip, bend, hand usage, rip, all that kind of stuff. Whoop, whoop. And again, the ability, core strength, mentioned it a couple times with him, gets through, but this tackle gets some hands on him, and he's able to push him. Solomon leans right on him, leans right through, bears down on the QB. Gets the sack. Real nice. Sideline loves it. Now, this one's a nice too. Again, this one's a nice one too. We've talked about transitioning moves, chaining moves together. He goes for a cross chop here. So you're going to get that jump cross chop. You see him hitting it right here. He's trying to take this right arm and he's trying to bring that over onto the outside arm of that tackle. And then he's going to pull himself through and turn the corner. He goes for it. Doesn't work. Right tackle gets him as he's airborne. Not a good rep, right? Offensive tackle is on you. The offensive tackle's right hand is in the center of your chest. You don't have leverage. You don't have positioning. But watch what he does. So he went for a move here. It didn't work. He adjusts, rips through, flattens, still gets to the quarterback and heats him up. Watch it in real time. Again, going for that cross chop with the jump. Doesn't get it. But watch how he, just adjusts. Just adjust his pattern, adjust his course, adjust the plan. It didn't work. Okay, let me figure something else out. The ability to chain moves together in succession and in sequence with one another. Also a nice little, see that right tackle throw that initial right hand. He's kind of feigning that punch a little bit to get Solomon to commit. Watch him shoot that right hand like psych. Nope. Goes for that chop. Doesn't work. But as he lands, and his hands aren't in great position here, you can see him because they're white gloved. But as he lands, he can feel the leverage, feel the positioning. Okay, cool. Let me lean. And the strength here, again, we get some dip, we get some bend, but it's that core strength, the ability to lean and turn and rip through the hands or the outside shoulder of an offensive tackle. Again, this is how he is won in college. Pulls through. Look at him dragging. The offensive lineman is even trying to hook him, maybe hold him a little bit. Isn't really technically holding because they don't call that when dudes are trying to rip through. Boom. Drops his hips. Drives through. This is how he's consistently won in college. Winning that outside. Dip, bend, core strength, hand usage, moves, plan, transition, all of that kind of stuff. Now, what I've said before, and I'm going to say again with him, I do think it's going to be an adjustment for Javon Solomon to NFL life. NFL size, NFL frame, NFL strength, NFL speed at the tackle spot. I don't know if he's going to be able to have that same impact with his core strength turning the corner against NFL tackles, or if he'll be able to have that same type of success with that move where he flashes that hand, dips and bends. I don't know if tackles are going to be like, and just punch the hell out of him and chuck him 5 yards because he doesn't weigh a ton. How does that low center of gravity play? How does that core strength play? The length, the size, the plan. I do think what's good for him is, again, he does have a good understanding of pass rush moves, of plan, of leverage, of spacing, of body positioning. So he does come into the league with some good tools and a good understanding from a football IQ standpoint. I just think he's going to have to be so on point with those to combat the overall smaller nature of his size and frame. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I'm excited to see what he can be as a rookie and also potentially going forward again, because the Bills need somebody who can be, even if he's just a pass rush specialist, I think there's a lot of value in that. You got somebody on known passing downs who can hunt and get to the QB. There's significant value in that, not just for the Bills, but for anyone. Another piece I wanted to talk about here is Dawuane Smoot. It was mentioned earlier in this episode. I think Dawuane Smoot is the biggest wild card for the Bills edge grouping in 2024. He tore his Achilles in week 16 in 2022. And last year, 2023, was a recovery year for him. He didn't play until week 6. He did an interview in November talking about how he didn't even really, he was just starting to feel from a in shape perspective like he would if he had just finished training camp. So he was just starting to get back into game shape in November, let alone actually feeling back to his old self pre-Achilles tear. But his old self was a productive one. In 2022, again, he tore his Achilles in week 16 in 2022. But in 2022, amongst 126 qualifying edges, Dawuane Smoot was tied for 36th in pass rush productivity. He was tied for 56th in total pressures. He was tied for 53rd in hurries, and he was tied for 31st in win percentage. He fits the physical compression style that the Bills like at edge. He's also a good spiker on two-man games in terms of his ability to clear the way for the looper or just be able to impact, cause havoc, and get inside and get pressure or even a sack as the spiker. I think there's a realistic shot that he wins that edge 4 spot. Again, I'm assuming it's Groot, and then either Epenesa or Vaughn or Epenesa, however you want to label 2 and 3. But I think the top 3 are Groot, Epenesa, and Vaughn. I think Dawuane Smoot has, again, a very realistic shot to win that edge 4 spot and see meaningful snaps. And if he can get back to his 2022 form, which, again, based off of those numbers and based on how he was used pre-Achilles injury, he was putting up edge 2 production, like high-end 3, mid-tier or low, even if you want to be super negative, like mid to low tier edge 2 production, but at the worst, like high-end 3. That's going to be super valuable for the Bills. Again, I think it's a realistic shot. He wins that edge 4 spot and sees meaningful snaps. And if he can get back to that pre-Achilles form, which in 2022 was edge 2 type of production, that's a tremendous value for the Bills. And granted, a bunch of this will depend on his health, how he feels now that he's over 1.5 years removed from that Achilles tear. And I don't think he has the overall upside in terms of production that Leonard Floyd had last season for the Bills. But I think the Dawuane Smoot signing could be a move in a similar vein where we're looking back in October or November and labeling that as a great move from Brandon Beane. Again, all of this outlook for the Bills edge grouping, I don't think they're going to have multiple A players or even 1A, depending on how you view Groot. I think Groot right now is about a B+, maybe an A- because of how good he's A+ against the run. I think he's kind of B+ as a pass rusher, which, yeah, that probably overall averages out to an A-, I think. So I think Groot's an A player. At worst, he's a high B+ type of dude. What else are you getting? Can AJ Epenesa be a B+ guy or a B guy? Can Von Miller be a B+ or a B guy? Can it be Smoot? Can Solomon be a B+ as a pass rusher or maybe even an A-? What does Kingsley Jonathan give you? Is Casey Toohill an A or an A- against the run? And he's a C as a pass rusher or a B-, maybe, like some type of combination. I think this edge grouping, you're looking at it from an overall depth and functionality perspective. They have that. You have schematic uses. You have skill sets that are advantageous to a defense. My biggest question, the issue with this grouping is, where does that top tier production come from, especially from a pass rush perspective? Do you have somebody that can be a walking bucket, that can win one-on-one consistently, that is a threat against offensive linemen, that can go up against an opponent's best offensive lineman and win sporadically or consistently? What type of impact do you get? Where does that top tier production come from? I think from a baseline perspective, what you're going to get is a whole bunch of B to B+ level play for the Bills this year at edge, which I think is fine. If you can rotate and roll out 4 dudes that give you B to A- type of production or B to B+ impact, I think that's fine. Again, in an ideal world, you have a top tier pass rusher coming off the edge in some form or fashion. We'll see if Groot can be that. We'll see if AJ Epenesa makes a jump to that, or if Von Miller gets back to his old self, or if it's in the cards for Javon Solomon, or maybe some of the impact for Dawuane Smoot. But again, I think Smoot is a real wild card and somebody who, if everything hits and your top 4 is Groot, AJ Epenesa, Von Miller, and Dawuane Smoot, I think you have a nice mix of physicality, compression, run defense, and rotation capability in terms of pressuring the QB. We'll see how much of that can be from a one-on-one win perspective, but you've got the ability to pair that with your defensive backs and your linebackers in terms of different pressure looks, getting creative schematically, and using scheme to kind of generate some pressure in addition to the physicality that you have up front. So it's definitely a position group to watch. It's one that I'm extremely intrigued to see come training camp and come preseason and kind of see how everybody sorts themselves out. And again, who can kind of answer that question or answer that bell in terms of providing that top tier production, how much they do it, when they do it, what type of players can they do it against. It's a really interesting spot for this Bills. And I think there's a lot of questions around it that are potentially worrisome or troublesome, but I think the answers are decently positive. It's just going to be a matter of what level do you get? Again, I don't think there's that true edge 1, and I don't think they have an edge 1 from a pass rush standpoint, but you can mitigate not having that by having a bunch of 2s. And if they can get that, that's actually pretty exciting, considering what they have on the back end at linebacker and with Taron Johnson at outside corner, in terms of kind of putting it all together. That'll do it for us here in this episode of Disguise Coverage. If you have not already, please, 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 and thank you, drop a like on this video. Again, it goes a sincerely long way towards helping myself and the entire team to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. I appreciate everyone who tuned in live for this episode. I thought it was going to be quicker in this episode, but I really got into the weeds a little bit with the film. I appreciate everyone for tuning in live. Again, July 3rd, the night before 4th of July. I know people are on vacation or people are doing holiday stuff tonight in addition to tomorrow, or just traveling or whatever is going on. So I appreciate all the folks who tuned in live and joined me here on this episode. Again, if you have not already, please drop a like on this video here on YouTube. Even if you're watching later and not watching live, please drop a like on this video. If you are listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that's cool too. Please rate and review and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever have you, wherever you listen to this show and get your podcasts at. Subscribe to the Disguise Coverage playlist on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Turn on notifications for Disguise Coverage here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about how awesome this show is. Or if you hated this show, tell your enemies and try and ruin their day by making them watch this show. I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. I hope you enjoy the holiday on the 4th and the holiday week, whatever plans or festivities you have. If you're traveling, be safe. If you're doing fireworks stuff, be safe. Whatever you're doing, be safe. Have fun. I appreciate you folks. Happy birthday, America. Godspeed. I'll see you next week, Tuesday, July 9th. Back to our regularly scheduled time slot for the show. Next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Disguise Coverage. But until then, Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.